double dog damn, it is time for another Rage Select podcast right here on Rage Select, and I am Jeff.
I'm John.
And John, I'm a sleepy guy today. I haven't had a shower in like 4 days. It's ridiculous.
I wondered what that smell was.
You know it's bad when you can smell yourself. You know it's bad whenever so often you turn too fast and you're just like, oh man, I can smell me. It's terrible. And it's not that I haven't wanted to. I desperately want to take a shower. It's just I haven't any time to take a fucking shower. So, but you know what? There's no time. There's still no time because we got a whole slew of stuff to talk about this week. We got just movie trailers. We got some game trailers. We got some game news. We got some weird news. We got a lot of strange stuff. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? You're always ready.
Here. I'm here,
folks.
Man.
You guys don't know this, John. Every Thursday, John is just like ready to go. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be here otherwise if I wasn't. I mean, I'm coming here specifically to do this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm ready, even when I'm not on the fucking podcast.
How many Thursdays in a row do you think that you've come to my house to record?
Right now, one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we started to have some weird Thursdays, but yeah.
One in a row. This is the one.
Okay. Yep. All right. This is Jeff this week, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. Well, you know what? But before we get into everything else, something surprised me greatly, John. I watched Justice League last week.
Okay.
It wasn't super terrible.
All right. I've heard those things about it.
Yeah. It was by no means. I mean, it was like I feel like we've seen enough superhero movies these days that. There's a formula developing of, especially in a team thing like this. I mean, it was basically the Avengers, but, they had to bring Captain America back to life before they could fight. Anyway, it was okay. It was not great. I liked, but you know what? The thing I feel about it was that it was missing that kind of like, that Zack Snyder taste of just like, look how gritty it is. Ooh, look how gritty it is. I mean, there was one part of the very beginning that I felt like was very, very Zack Snyder, where they played a cover of Everybody Knows by Leonard Cohen amongst a montage. It was the title sequence amongst a montage of people that were sad about Superman being gone.
Yeah.
And
that sounds very Zack Snyder.
That was very Zack Snyder. But then like from there, we kind of just kept moving along, kept having fights, meeting people, and doing stuff. Things are happening, and this thing's happening, and that thing's happening, and I don't know. It wasn't. It was pretty cool. It was definitely one of the more enjoyable of the DC movies.
Okay.
And I do feel
not
like
saying much, but
yeah. I mean, the bar's real low. I liked it more than Wonder Woman. So
okay.
Which I thought was entirely too long and didn't have a very good the thing.
I
about
still haven't seen Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay. Well,
I kind of gave up on DC movies with Batman v Superman.
Oh, BVS. Yeah.
I kind of want to check out Wonder Woman because everyone tells me how good it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I figure at some point I'll eventually watch Justice League when it pops up like on
Netflix
some type of streaming service.
Yeah, Hulu or Amazon or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. I might check out a movie here or there just because, if a movie's trailer interests me enough, I'll check it out.
Yeah. I that's not to say I feel that I do want to make it clear that I understand why people like Wonder Woman a lot, because lady-fronted superhero movies have been given a real shit end of the stick for years. I mean, there's like 4 of them, and they're mostly pretty terrible. I just felt that Wonder Woman, just like as a movie in general, went on a little bit too long, and this one was very much just kind of like beginning, middle, end, and it's a very typically plotted out movie. Like there's no big twists or anything in the middle. It's just kind of, it does everything that you would expect, and it looks fairly pretty. Batman kind of sucks, and I kind of like that. Aquaman does this war cry that sounds exactly like the thing that Maui does in Moana.
Okay.
And so it's kind of weird seeing the tattooed guy from the sea like do this kind of battle cry, and it sounds just an awful lot like the sound that Dwayne Johnson was making when he spun around the thing in the movie. So,
and then there was the absence of the mustache.
Right. Yes.
And where, Superman kind of looked like John Travolta in certain scenes.
You know what? I actually kind of like, in spite of everything, they didn't have enough time to really do the whole kind of like, they didn't have time to do any bullshit Chris Nolan, what does it mean to be a hero, or any of the fucking Zack Snyder, like, I don't know, I'm conflicted about Mankind. It was just like, no, this is dude, he's blowing stuff up. Let's go punch him. Let's go punch him until he stops blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay,
See, and I will
fine
say
with
this.
that.
I will say this. I mean, mind you, I don't know what the filming was, and I don't know what the behind the scenes. I'm gonna stick on the mustache thing for a little bit.
okay.
In the comics, Superman came back to life with a mullet.
Yeah.
Why couldn't he come back to life with a mustache? Who's to say he couldn't come back to life with a mustache?
I think that if I know my tropes correctly, he needed to have a beard as well. He needed to have like a big how long have I been unconscious? Like a beard, not just because it's a perfectly coiffed mustache.
No. I'm perfectly okay. I am willing to accept it that he comes back with a perfectly coiffed mustache because it's motherfucking Superman.
Well, but if he does that, like if he comes back with a perfectly coiffed mustache, doesn't that just start to confuse anybody who's read the Invincible comics?
No one reads those
Because
anymore.
all the super guys have mustaches.
I mean, that book's ending real soon, so
it's not over yet.
No, it's about to end, like in the next month or so.
Anyway, it's coming out pretty soon, and yeah, I'm with you. Like, if it's on a streaming service, or if you can, like, don't spend $15 to get it off of. You know how they always make shit expensive when it first comes out, but then like after a couple months, it's like you could just pay $4 to rent it.
Is it not out on Blu-ray and DVD yet?
I don't think so.
I thought it was. Oh, okay.
Anyway, it may be by the time this podcast comes out, or it may be by the time people listen to this podcast. Also, Altered Carbon, pretty good. Not the best, but pretty good. But I tell you what, let's jump from movies that everybody has already seen to movies that no one has seen.
You don't know that.
To movies that very few people have seen.
I'll accept that as a comment.
Like The Incredibles 2. Okay, so let me ask you. We had a full-on like story trailer as opposed to just like the little teaser with Jack that we saw before. What do you think when you look at this?
It's interesting. I don't have an opinion. I mean, I loved Incredibles, the first movie, so I'm interested to see where this movie and the fact that it picks up right where the first movie left off.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting. So I'm excited for it.
I'm a little conflicted because I feel like from this trailer,
I do have some worries.
It seems like the whole thing is going to be, his name is Mr. Incredible, right?
Well, he's Mr. Incredible, and she's
Elastigirl. Is that it seems like the first movie was like, oh, Mr. Incredible's unhappy with his life, and then he's getting it back by doing stuff for this CEO, and here it's like this trailer is a montage of, once again, Mr. Incredible being unhappy, seeming to be unhappy with his life. Now, obviously, it's for a different reason than the first one, but I almost feel like I don't know. I mean, maybe when the movie comes out, there's more of a focus on the family. But
I will say, the tease at the end of the first Incredibles movie with the Underminer, and then them going to attack it as a family,
right?
That was what I wanted as a sequel,
right?
And that's very clearly what we're not getting.
Yeah,
we're not getting that at all.
Yeah,
and I do think that's a little disappointing. Also, the corporate CEO guy wants to talk to them about superheroes.
Bob Odenkirk.
And I hope to fucking God that guy's not the villain. Doesn't turn out to be the villain of the movie, because then that's the exact same plot as the first movie.
Exactly. Yeah, like Bob, and especially the fact that it's Bob Odenkirk, I could definitely see it turning, because he generally plays kind of slimy characters, right? Yeah. Also, there's this whole scene in here about him trying to do homework with Dash, and with the new math method, he's like, they changed math, and it's just like,
well, that's because that is actually, I think, that did happen.
Well, no, I know. Right. I guess it's just, I was hoping that, I'm with you, where I was hoping that we would maybe jump forward a little bit to the children are tweens and adolescents.
Oh, I don't even want that. I just wanted the family adventure superheroics, which the ending of the first movie seemed to imply was going to happen.
Right.
And then the very beginning of this trailer, which picks up right where the first movie left off, basically goes, nah.
Like, you guys, y'all stay here. I don't know. I don't know. Pixar has lost a lot of its luster over the last few years, just because I think starting probably around Brave, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Like it used to be that I knew that I liked every single Pixar movie that came out. Cars, that was the one where I watched it and I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is not really for me. But I think that after that was Ratatouille, which I really liked, or Wall-E, one of the two is, and I forget the exact chronology.
I like I said, I'm still excited for it.
I'm interested. I do know, though, I haven't bothered to look, but I feel like there's going to be a subsection of the internet that is very, very mad at this.
Yeah. I'm willing to give it a chance. So,
Okay. Speaking of things on the internet that make people angry, how about that Venom trailer, John?
You mean that movie with Tom Hardy walking around in a hoodie for most of it?
Yeah.
With absolutely no Venom at all in the trailer?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I saw that.
I'm completely. This is like so far outside of my. Okay, so my Venom knowledge was Spider-Man's big arch enemy.
Yeah.
That then he apparently pooped out Carnage when he was in prison or something or whatever. But anyway, it was mostly just like Venom. He's like way stronger and faster and more deadly than Spider-Man, and he's kind of a psychopath, and he's like Spider-Man's big nemesis. Now, I understand that things have moved since then to other places. Like I've seen pictures of anti-Venom and
yeah. I mean, there's some other places and other stuff that they've gone with it.
I don't think it's Eddie Brock anymore, or it hasn't been Eddie Brock for a while.
It is Eddie Brock again, but yeah, for a long while there was a small period where it was the Scorpion, Matt Gargan.
Okay.
Where he was the one who was in control of the Venom costume, and then after him it was Flash Thompson.
Okay.
And then I think most recently it's actually gone back to Eddie Brock.
But so what this most reminds me of is when I encountered Venom since I'm an old man, it was just as a supporting character. It was like Dr. Octopus, right? It was like he would show up, he was a villain. He was an interesting villain, but he was a Spider-Man villain, not a character in his own right.
He eventually got to be there was the truce that occurred in the comics between him and Spider-Man. They basically had a truce that if Venom goes off and leaves Peter Parker alone, Peter Parker won't come after him.
Right.
And then eventually Eddie Brock kind of started doing the anti-hero thing.
Yeah.
And kind of became an anti-hero for a while. And then they kind of did the whole thing where it kind of also turned out that the reason the symbiote bonded with him was not only because of his hate of Peter, but because Eddie Brock also had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And the Venom costume feeds on cancer. Like the symbiote actually like it.
See, I'm learning so much right now.
Like this is yeah. It like feeds on cancer or something. I don't know. I didn't really read the comics. I just remember this being a thing.
Okay.
And it bonded with him. A, because of his hatred of Peter Parker,
right.
And it felt a kinship with him in regards to that. But also B, because he had cancer and didn't know it, and the suit was like, well, I can cure this,
right?
Or stop it and live on it.
Okay.
So that became a thing for a while.
Okay. In any case, what it seems like to me is kind of Deadpool. Like when the first Deadpool trailer came out.
Yeah.
Like I knew Deadpool as the shitty character that Rob Liefeld made. There were, and maybe a little bit of his a series when it was still just like, ooh, look how badass he is and shooting stuff, before it got fourth wall humorous, all that stuff. And so I remember watching the trailer and being like, oh, that's interesting. This doesn't really tell me a whole lot about Venom.
No, it doesn't. If you didn't say that, like, if you didn't tell me that this was tied to Marvel in some way,
right,
and wasn't a Venom movie, like if you cut off the Marvel like pages flashing at the very beginning of the trailer, and then cut off the thing that shows the eyes and the V at the end of the trailer,
I
couldn't tell you what the fuck this movie was for. I couldn't even tell you this was a comic book movie or a superhero movie or what. It's just a bunch of generic bullshit. There is
like one scene of like a bunch of people getting pushed by an invisible force. There's one scene of him riding a motorcycle, and those are like the only two action things. And then besides that, it's just weird Tom Hardy American accent voiceover thing. But I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm just saying this trailer didn't exactly blast my socks off. So
I think they probably could have done a better trailer.
I agree.
But it's a teaser, so maybe the next trailer will be. This is not really a trailer; it's a teaser. So maybe the next trailer will actually be more interesting and actually wow us all.
Well, there's actually, but there's actually also a case to be made of like, depending on how much Venom is in the movie, like don't show everything in the trailer, but you still need to make a more interesting trailer.
You can tell us what the movie's about.
Yeah, than that, right? Yeah, it seems like Tom Hardy maybe has cancer and there's an experimental treatment and he's going to turn. But like, who are Venom's? Who is it? Just going to be like the government is trying to get the Venom symbiote back?
I don't know.
Because if not, then like, then you're dipping it. Who are Venom's enemies outside of Carnage?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, okay. Anyway, it would be really interesting though if what they're keeping under wraps is the fact that it's a movie from Eddie Brock Venom's perspective, and the bad guy in the movie is Spider-Man. But I don't think it's going to be that clever.
No, because this is supposed to be completely separate from not Tom Hardy. What's his name? Holland.
Tom Holland. Yeah,
Tom Holland. Spider-Man.
The
Marvel. Like it's not tied to that, or if it is, it's going to be very loosely tied to that.
Yeah. Also, there was a new Batman Ninja trailer. I recommend that you go check it out because we're already running a little bit long, and I want to jump back into the news. But I'm still really excited for this. It looks like a good lineup.
Looks crazy.
Yeah, a good lineup of talent. The fact that what's his name, fucking Buster from Arrested Development, is the Joker. That's a little strange. But but with that, let us move into general news. And I don't know, this one, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I'm pretty sure that everybody already knows this particular story. I'm assuming that you know this particular story.
I do.
So, okay, this is only kind of tertiarily gaming related, but it can sometimes be a little worrying to, and I don't think that anybody here at Rage Select is going to suffer from this problem. But at the end of January, Gavin, what's his last name? You know, the guy, Gavin Free and
Meg Turney,
which are both kind of Gavin Free more with Rooster Teeth.
Well,
the
Meg used to be hardcore with Rooster Teeth, but then she left the company and kind of started doing her own thing. But she used to be on their podcast all the time and stuff like that. So she was also, because I think that's where they met, is at Rooster Teeth.
It wouldn't surprise me.
If I'm not mistaken. I could be entirely wrong, so if I am, please don't.
Yeah. But apparently, a troubled person from, was it Arizona, New Mexico?
Something like that. Arizona or New Mexico, I don't know.
Yeah, I think New Mexico. Basically drove to their house with the intent of killing Gavin in the middle of the night. And apparently had some sort of obsession with Meg Turney. And fortunately, the two of them were they were woken up by glass shattering, and they were able to hide and call the cops. And the cops confronted this person as they were trying to escape, fired back. They shot at him, and he was killed. Anyway, it's weird because this is definitely not the first time that anything like this has happened. But I met Gavin at RTX when we had the spill stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to think about that happening. I don't know. It always seems so far away until it's in your particular neck of the woods. And
I'll say that this is also why this is why when I post stuff online, I tend to not post stuff outside of the place that I live.
Right.
I tend to post very, I don't mind my life being out there. I don't mind people knowing that I'm in Austin.
Right.
But I kind of have draw the line at my home. I don't want people to know where I live. I typically don't post pictures of when I lived in a house. I don't post pictures of I didn't really post pictures of the house online.
Yeah.
I didn't take pictures of me outside in my yard. I didn't do streams of me like walking with my phone in front of my house, so that people could kind of see the layout of the streets and things like. I'm very like. I ain't cool with that. Like, I've done stuff of me walking home, but I typically don't do it near my house. Like, I've done it before as like, I'm going to try this out once. And then as I got to, like, a certain spot, I was like, I'm going to stop because don't want people to,
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think that for me personally, I kind of have the same thing where, in the past, people have asked if they could get my address to like send me things, which I don't know. I'm sure that if you looked, it's kind of like my last name. I don't say my last name usually, and it's not. It's partially because it's not a very radio friendly name, but it's also because I don't know. I have like my parents were very private. And because they were raised in an era where privacy was very cherished, and so the idea of, I mean, like one time I think I remember one of the first times that I went to Kayla's house for one of her parties, and I was like, "Where do you live, Kayla?" And she's just like, "Oh, it's on my Facebook page." It's like, your address is on your public Facebook page? That's crazy. So I don't know. I don't really even know what the point of this is outside of the just. I mean, like, be cool. Like, I don't think we've ever. I mean, there've been a few times where folks have come into town and I've not been able to meet up with them, but there's also been plenty of times where I've gotten real drunk and then been like, "Come back to my house and let's fucking watch Transformers." And I'll
yeah,
talk
but
to
you know
but...
they're okay by that point.
Yeah,
Like that they're cool, that they're not crazy psycho people who are going to come try to kill you in the middle of the night.
yes, true.
So I mean that's, and we're not saying any of you are,
No,
because for the most part, people that I've met of Rage Select fans, you've all been pretty cool.
I don't think I've met anybody. I don't think I've met anybody.
Like even
that...
like the website people that I haven't met in person that are kind of trolls.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like probably wouldn't be douche trolls in person.
no, I don't think so either. I mean, that's the nice thing about having a very small YouTube channel is that I feel like I know everybody who comments because, we've really pared it down from back in the old days. In fact, one of my rules, John, is that if I ever see a comment posted on a very old Rage Select video on YouTube, I will not. I don't click on that email to see what was written because it's almost always somebody who's watching our Guitar Hero Live, with Grant and I from 2 years ago, who's just like, "Yeah, you guys suck." Like it's like, "Hey, great, I love this." It's always just like, "Fuck you guys," and it's like gone. So.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it sucks, and the fact that it's in Austin was kind of like, I've had a lot of people actually kind of comment on it and even bring up the fact that like I do a video game website, here, even though I'm a very small part of this website, and I used to have a podcast that I no longer do, and it's crazy.
It is.
Like I've had people comment about it. It's crazy. I feel bad for them, but I'm glad that they're safe, and be cool. Don't. Not that me saying this is going to deter someone who already has decided that they're going to do this. Don't go to your YouTube creators' homes. Yeah. Without their permission.
In general, just respect people's
because I've also
spaces.
heard stories of like what is it like fucking story. I've heard stories of like people like doing like live streams on Twitch and then someone knocks on their fucking front door.
Oh yeah,
wanting to know if they could crash for the night because they're fans and they're trying to travel or whatever, and they just really associated with them, so they felt like they were like really good friends, and maybe they would be someone who would allow them to crash for the night, or whatever, because they got kicked out of their house.
Weird.
Like what is it? I'm trying to think of his name right now. It's a guy that Amanda actually watches a lot. He was actually a really big YouTuber. I can't think of his name.
Say it. Okay.
I can't think of his name. Whatever.
Logan
but
Paul?
Like, no, fuck no.
I mean, I know he had a thing where like some guy snuck in, like live streamed sneaking like into his house or something like that.
No, but like there's a guy who does a YouTube show and he kind of goes over the news of different news of stuff like that, and I can't think of his name right now. But like,
is it Philip DeFranco?
DeFranco, thank you. Like DeFranco has even said in like his videos, like he's had people like sneak into the DeFranco offices, like that. There's not even his house; it's a key carded building.
Yeah,
sneak inside and like come into his office while he's recording one of those videos.
Yeah,
and like snuck in without anyone knowing.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I'd say make sure that to meet a person before you associate that level of familiarity
or if
with
it's
them.
something where you're going to go to you're going to be in the town that your favorite YouTuber or YouTube company or whatever is at. Don't just show up at their place uninvited, whether it's their office building, whether it's their homes, whether it's whatever. Don't show up uninvited. Say, hey, I'm coming into town. Is this something that I could maybe do? If they say no, sorry, move on.
Right.
If they say, yeah, sure, meet us over here, or sometimes they won't respond at all. If they don't respond at all, that is not an open invitation to go to them.
But you know what? The other thing about this is that when you read into the guy that did this, he was obviously had some loner kind of mental stuff going on. So, but anyway, everybody be cool. Everybody be cool. I'm glad that they're okay. It sucks that dude even if he was doing crazy stuff that he got shot. But let's move on to less heavy stuff. We got a ton of video game news here, and the first bit of news that I have is apropos. Specifically, I want to say right now that I feel like there's a thing, John, that there's a thing where as soon as Rage Select gets done playing some game, whether it's a dojo or whether it's like, oh man, I waited for like 6 months and then we're going to play this game that I forgot about that last time and we're going to catch up on it. They always add something right after we're done. And in this case, The Evil Within 2 has added a full-on first-person mode to the game.
For free.
As well as the ability to try that out.
Totally could have played the game in first person.
That's true.
Don't know if it would have been any better.
I don't think so, because a lot of it is a sneaking game, and so seeing yourself in relation, like it does that Killzone thing, because it's cover based, right?
Yeah.
And because it's sneaking, like you're breaking their line of sight by going behind cover. So then you've got that thing where you go behind cover in first person, and you're just looking at the side of a car, and then like you have to kind of move over and tilt your camera. The lock on doesn't seem like it's quite as snappy in first person mode.
Yeah.
But
it's cool they did it.
No, it's excellent. It's interesting that it's a free feature. And I mean, I said this a lot during the playthrough, but I'll say it again here for anybody who doesn't watch those. Evil Within 2 is a hell of a game. You should go play it. I mean, like, see if you can get it cheap or free or buy it at full price or whatever. Like, it was good. I thought it was way better than the first one because the storyline was much less like kind of, organization convoluted. It was just kind of like, I got to find my daughter. She's in this crazy dreamland. It's full of zombies. Okay, that's great. I can get behind that. But yeah, that was added this week. So what I'm trying to say is you're welcome, Internet, because I feel like if we hadn't just finished playing the Evil Within 2, that you would have had to wait a lot longer for this because the Internet is looking to spite me. Not adding new features.
Considering that it takes a long time to add features like that to a game and develop it and get ready,
man.
And just not just coincidence that it just happened to get released.
Nah. Conspiracy.
Okay, we'll go with that.
But while Bethesda and the Evil Within 2 is adding features for free, there was a report this week that that was a terrible transition. Let's try this again. Speaking of spending money on stuff, hey, there you go. That one kind of works. I know this. We're not going to stick with this for way too long because I've already, I'm pretty sure everybody knows about this. But Activision Blizzard had a earnings call recently, and apparently it came out that in 2017 they made $4 billion from microtransactions, just microtransactions. Yeah. Now, I actually drilled down into this. And what's interesting is that half of that number is
$2 billion.
Is $2 billion, and that revenue is from King. You remember when they bought King?
Oh yeah.
So, like, you look, it's like, oh, $4 billion, they're fleecing, we're all getting fucking raked over the coals, and it's like, well, half of that's fucking Candy Crush. All right, half of that is a game that I don't feel like anybody is going to be booting up Candy Crush and being like, man, I remember when phone games used to pay $4 for them, and then you had a full game instead of this microtransaction Candy Crush bullshit. I'm pretty sure that nobody is saying that. Is anybody saying that? Are you saying that?
I'm not saying it.
Okay, I'm not saying it. Is anybody in the? I don't know. Maybe in the comments. It's also been really interesting. I don't know if you've been keeping track of this, but I feel like Extra Credits and Jim Sterling have been having a war recently over like loot boxes and game development, because Extra Credits put up a video about how games should cost more than $60, and Jim Sterling kind of did a response to that, and then they had one that came out, I think it was yesterday, about why loot boxes are not inherently a bad thing. It's only when they're abused that they're a bad thing. And I think that thing had like a 50-50 like to dislike ratio on YouTube the last time I looked at it. But
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, speaking of No, my transition machine is broken today. My
I try to help, but I don't know what you're transitioning to.
Speaking of feuds, in other news, let's just do generic. In other news,
Other things that piss people off. I don't know.
other games that make people mad. How about Mass Effect Andromeda? This is really strange. It's not worth sitting on for a long time, but apparently they put out a multiplayer balance patch for Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer.
Yeah. Which is the only thing that they're like when they announced that they're done with Mass Effect, they said, well, we'll continue to patch the multiplayer for as long as people still play it, but as far as the main game goes, you're not getting any DLC. We've suspended all development on that game outside of the small team that we have doing the multiplayer.
I guess I just don't understand why you would why you wouldn't, if you were going to divert any amount of resources into that game, like continuing to even just incrementally try to polish the storyline little tiny bits outside
they wrote that game off outside of the multiplayer because the multiplayer still makes them money.
Oh, right, because of microtransactions and right, okay, yeah. Jesus,
literally, that's that they like came out and said that was the only reason they were leaving a team on to patch and balance the multiplayer is because that still makes money. They have written off that game otherwise. Completely.
God, what a fucking sad story Mass Effect Andromeda is. Like, I just, I mean, it was
that game got fucked hard.
Yeah, it did.
Especially when you hear a lot of the what Kotaku did, that behind the scenes kind of look at what happened with that game.
Yeah,
man,
they wanted it to be kind of like a No Man's Sky thing, and then that didn't work.
Boned. Yeah.
Yep. Which is too bad because it's a good franchise, and it's sad to see a franchise like that get run into the ground. For no reason,
and then written off.
For no reason outside of what seems like they had to make a release date, right? That it was like they probably like. This is why it's sometimes I'm so impressed when you hear stories about games that were like 80% complete and then just got put on the shelf, or like the way that Overwatch was reworked out of Project Titan. Was that the Blizzard thing? Because they were just like, it isn't fun. Like, it isn't fun. Like, the Project Titan part wasn't fun, so there's this one fun part, let's take that out and rework it, instead of trying to just, like, instead of taking the whole sunk cost thing of taking the money that you've already put into the game and then shoving a bad game out and then being like, here, and trying to get over it with marketing and bullshit. I don't know, like, it's just such a shame with Mass Effect. There's a lot of those last year. I mean, Battlefront 2 is
Here's the thing, EA kind of has a history of doing that.
Yeah.
Though, where they get all like, oh, well, this game needs to have this, this, and this. Oh, it didn't do well because of all those things that we forced you to do.
Yeah.
That took away from the game that you were trying to make. Oh, well, I guess this franchise is dead. Let's move on.
Yeah.
They did it with Dead Space.
Yeah, no, that's true. You know what? Okay, here's what's what confuses me is they used to be like that, and then they got a little bit better, and they seem to be doing
waited
that
till people
shit
forgot.
less. Well, I don't know if that's it or not, but like, because during the online pass days, I feel like it was real scummy, and then they kind of like swerved a little bit, and they had some good stuff going on, and then recently they've just, I don't know, they've gone back to being fucking assholes or bigger assholes than they used to be.
Yeah. So whatever.
I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Speaking of games that are dead and then come back to life, which I hope Mass Effect does someday, there was actually a really interesting kind of tweet storm from Hideki Kamiya about Bayonetta.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which is a 15-part thing, and I'll sum it up for you, and it's kind of interesting. Is basically he's talking about like how do games get made, and I think that this is a response to a certain amount of backlash about the fact that Bayonetta 3 is going to be Switch exclusive, and that Bayonetta 2 was Wii U exclusive, and that fans of the series don't want to buy. You could definitely see a scenario where fans of the series do not want to buy a Nintendo console just for the one game, right? That aren't interested in the Wii U outside of Bayonetta 2.
Which, I mean, when you tell me why, I figure what he's going to say is stuff that people like you and myself already know and understand.
Yep.
And I wish more people understood it.
Yep.
But
which is basically him talking about how like these games wouldn't get made without the publishers, that they're the ones who invested to get these games made. And when they started out, Sega owned the rights to Bayonetta 1. It was originally supposed to be an Xbox 360 exclusive. And apparently an in-house Sega studio did the port to the PS3, which explains an awful lot.
Yeah.
The hideous load times just to bring up the start menu on the PlayStation 3 version. But I still played that game from start to finish. From there, Sega put money in to develop Bayonetta 2, but then never finished it because they just got other priorities. And then Nintendo stepped in, and Nintendo and Sega made the deal to make it a Wii U exclusive, with Nintendo ponying up the rest of the development money to finish the game, essentially. And then apparently, I didn't know this, but Nintendo, when they made the Bayonetta 1 for the Wii U, they did some work on the audio track, and that Nintendo, I believe, was also kind enough to fund a port of Bayonetta 1 for the Wii U, and they allowed us to use the Japanese voice track that we created for the Wii U version in the PC version of Bayonetta 1 as well. So when they put it on the PC, they were able to use the kind of updated version that they made for the Wii U. And that Bayonetta 3 on the Switch is essentially, again, being funded by Nintendo, so there would be no Bayonetta 3. Nobody else is stepping up, I guess, is basically the point. Like, he's, I know that you want this to be on the PC, but Nintendo stepped up and gave us the money to do this. No other publisher did, and when they do that, they own the rights to it, and that means that they can decide whether they want it to be on the PC or not. And they don't want to. They want it to be on their platforms as a way to sell platforms.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it goes back to everything that you and I have been saying about Microsoft for the last 2 years, about like Nintendo's doing the work of I mean, say what you will, even on the Wii U, like there was no reason that Bayonetta had to be a Wii U game. It didn't use the pad at all. It wasn't doing anything specifically interesting to the console. But Nintendo made the effort to...
Nintendo went, you know what? We really need to get exclusives. Hey, Sega, we have this really great partnership. Are there any game franchises that we could maybe get as an exclusive from you? And Sega was like, well, there's this Bayonetta 2 thing that we've only paid for. You'd have to pay for the rest of it because we'll let you just have it. Like it's yours from here, as long as you want to continue paying.
I'm sure they got a cut of
no, definitely. And then Nintendo went, you know what? People really they looked into it. They probably went, you know what? People seem to really like that game. Fuck it, let's do it.
Yep.
And it seems to have paid off well for them.
Hey, you know what?
Because I don't think they would be doing Bayonetta 3 and also porting Bayonetta 1 and 2 to the Switch if it didn't work out well for them.
Yep. Which, if you have a Switch and you haven't played Bayonetta 1 and 2, I highly recommend them. 2's not quite as good as 1. I liked 1 better than 2, obviously. But Bayonetta is still a great franchise.
And I've heard that they run at a really good 60 frames per second on both handheld mode and on docked
the TV mode. Okay.
Both 60 frames per second, smooth. They apparently added touch controls to Bayonetta 1, which were not there for the Wii U version.
Okay.
So that's...
Wasn't Bayonetta 1 the game that had the one-handed mode?
I think so. I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, like they've done some work. Like it's not just it's those same 2 games just put on the Switch. Apparently they've done some work to the games as well.
Yeah.
And because one of the guys on Kotaku has got an early copy and is basically yesterday was like, tweet me your questions about the game. I will, because we're not going to do another review of it because we've already reviewed these games like twice.
Right.
So tweet me your questions about the game and I'll answer them about your Switch specific questions. And I think he had like a video that did like 18 questions that you wanted to know. And
okay, fair enough. But it's interesting, and I mean, it's also a good reminder that it's not it's not a good idea to even get. There's no use getting mad at them for not putting Bayonetta 2, say, on Steam or Bayonetta 3 because it's not their choice at this point. All right, next up, Assassin's Creed. That educational mode for Assassin's Creed is coming out next week. This is going to be. I don't know if we reported on this the last time, but apparently it's going to be a free add-on for Assassin's Creed Origins, or you could just buy the whole thing by itself for $20. And it's basically Assassin's Creed Origins, but without all that pesky combat, all that pesky assassination. And it's 75 tours that last anywhere between 5 and 25 minutes that cover things like Egypt, the pyramids, Alexandria, daily life, Romans, etc., etc.
Yeah, and apparently there's actually like a teaching aspect. Like I think there's a narrator that talks about stuff.
Yeah.
That basically uses as a teaching tool.
Yeah.
Which I think is fucking awesome.
I mean, if they're going to go to all the effort of creating, this very realistic rendition of the era and of the time, et cetera, why not? Why not use it to teach people some stuff as opposed to just stabbity slashity?
Yeah,
slashity,
I think
stabbity.
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the good news about Assassin's Creed Origins. I don't know. This is a mixed bag, but apparently, at the moment, Ubisoft is concentrating on creating more and more content for Assassin's Creed Origins rather than beginning work on a new Assassin's Creed.
Weird.
Which I find a little strange because the quote is, quote, "We are concentrating at the moment on ACO, for which we are going to launch a few other DLCs. So you will be amazed by what will come on ACO. That's the only thing we can say now." And that's from Yves himself.
Okay.
I don't know. It's kind of strange for me because this to me kind of feels like a Final Fantasy 15 situation where I didn't really care for AC Origins as much. I mean, it was okay, but
Oh, see, I'm digging it.
I don't know. I
stopped to play Monster Hunter, but I've been digging AC Origins.
So given that, do you want to see more DLCs for that? Is more DLC and more adding content and stuff? I don't know. I've been thinking recently about the way that the new Buzz thing about games as service, right?
Yeah.
Of trying to get you to play the same game for a long, long, long time. And I think that's one of the issues that I was having with Assassin's Creed Origins and that I've had with a lot of the Assassin's Creed games. It's just that when I look at the number of things to do on the map, I'm just kind of like, nah, that's too many things. I can't. It's not like this town has 2 quests. This town has 12 quests, and this town is not that interesting to spend that much time in, right? And I don't want to just skip over stuff and move forward. So I end up just getting that that kind of overload where it's like there's too much here, and I don't want to do all of it. I can't feel a sense of accomplishment because you've got this gigantic map, and every square inch of it is just covered in here's where somebody online died, and here's look at the stars, and here's this thing, and I'm just like, that's too much, too many things, too many things.
Okay.
And so the idea of putting more things in there doesn't appeal to me. I guess I'm asking if you have any of that same sense, or maybe
I don't have that much of an issue with it. As far as getting more DLC, I think it's cool. I could take it or leave it.
Okay.
I'm at least at the point that I'm at in the game right now. I feel like I liked it enough that I'm happy to have played it. I obviously haven't beaten it yet.
Yeah.
I want to get back, and I do want to get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not in a rush to get back to it either.
Okay.
So I'm probably having more fun with this than I have with the last 2 or 3 Assassin's Creed games.
Where would you rank it? Where would you rank it as a game with other games that you played in 2017? What is it? What is it better than? Not what is it worse than, but what is it better than that you played in 2017 that you feel like I would have rather have played Assassin's Creed Origins rather than, I don't know, Evil Within, or I know you didn't get a chance to play as many things in 2017.
I didn't play Evil Within, so I wouldn't be able to really comment on that. And I didn't play Wolfenstein 2, and I didn't play
Prey.
Yeah, I didn't really like Prey.
Yeah.
I would actually rather be playing Assassin's Creed Origins than Prey.
Yakuza Kiwami.
Yakuza's great. I would actually put Yakuza Kiwami and I haven't played Yakuza 0 obviously, but Yakuza Kiwami and Assassin's Creed Origins kind of on the same plane of they both scratch kind of a similar itch, and I kind of want to. I kind of stopped playing. I actually stopped playing Yakuza to play Origins. And it's kind of one of those things that I'm going to go back to it. It's one of those things where I'm definitely going to go back to it at some point, but I'm not in a rush to go back to it.
Okay.
So it's kind of one of those things where I would put those on the same level as far as my enjoyment of them.
Okay.
So
yeah, that makes sense. Next up, we have some trailers. First up, we got the D23 Expo Monsters Incorporated Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, which is roughly 50% gibberish talking nonsense about the organizations and Sora and I'm your other half and it's Vindictus and you think Heartless? I don't know about your hearts.
I just like the lines like, "Oh, you're part of the new organization." He goes, "The only organization."
It's
like
called-
that was the response was the only organization. What the fuck are you talking about?
I think it's called Organization 13, right? It implies that there's been 12 other organizations. Anyway, I think, as always, it's really interesting to see a bunch of Disney characters speaking Japanese. It looks pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know that I have as much like Monsters Incorporated specific nostalgia, but I mean, you know, it looks real nice. And the gameplay just seems like a bunch of colored lights flashing around the screen. There's a bunch of yo-yo attacks at one point. I don't know. I'm real torn about this because some of this looks really cool and some of it looks like insufferably bad to me. Not bad, but just like not for Jeff in any way, shape, or form. Because I don't have as much like fucking Disney boner hard on as most people that I know at least do. And although I do have more of a JRPG Square Enix boner than most of my friends, I don't know. It's just I don't know. It looks very pretty. Like all the times where you're seeing Disney characters look real fun, but like the parts where you're actually doing combat look a little ponderous and just like hit the X button a bunch of times and here's the thing that turns into a rocket on a stick and here's the teacups whirling around and here's like yo-yos and here's, you know, I don't know. I'm a little torn.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at the point where I feel like this franchise has outgrown me, or I've outgrown the franchise, I guess. And I also, you know, having said that, I've only played 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I haven't played any of the other stuff. Like I haven't played any of the HD remasters or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I feel like,
and I didn't even finish playing 2. I played like literally the intro and then said fuck this and turned the game off. When I got the title card, I was like, I've been playing this game for 4 hours. Go fuck yourself.
I guess it's just I wonder again. Like there's so much of the there's half of this trailer that's very much just like, look, it's Mike and Sully from Monsters Incorporated.
Here's the characters from Toy Story.
Here's Tangled. Here's the Little Mermaid. And I'm like, great, okay, that's cool. They all look really good, you know. But then the other half is just like these so JRPG it makes my teeth bleed conversations between Sora and somebody dressed in black going and I'm like I don't care about any of that. Like that may make sense to a person who's played all the Kingdom Hearts games. Makes no sense to me, and there's no part of it that even it's so dense that it doesn't even draw somebody. It doesn't even draw me in. It's not like I want to know more. Like, who is that guy? I'm like, well, I don't know who that guy is.
I actually would want to know someone's reaction that's never played
a Kingdom Hearts game.
Younger person, like someone who is maybe late, who someone who like I don't know, like someone who's never played the Kingdom Hearts games and is seeing this for the first time. Like I want to know what their feeling is because clearly it's not for me.
Right.
And I was there when the first game came out and I played it and I beat it. And I was there when the second game came out and I played the beginning of it and then I quit.
Yeah.
But and I didn't play any of the other stuff. I didn't play any of the DS games or the whatever. I didn't play any of that other stuff and I'm kind of wondering just like what
It seems like a missed opportunity to kind of not reboot, but like soft reboot the story for a new generation, right? Because technically it was like the hooks to get you into this game were on the PS2, and yes, they've released HD collections for the PS3 and the PS4.
Also, you got to remember, in the very first game, Sora was voiced by Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah,
that dude is an old man.
He's a giant ogre man now.
He has a beard.
Yeah.
He couldn't grow a beard when he did the voice the first time.
Yeah.
He's too young. It's been too much.
Anyway, all right, let's speed it up a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and skip over this. Blanca is coming to Street Fighter V.
Yeah.
Is a little strange that of all the characters that I've seen trailers for in Street Fighter, like, I recognize every move that Blanca has here.
So, it's Blanca.
Well, yeah, but I feel like it's Street Fighter V.
Yeah.
Like, why would Blanca have the exact same moveset of Street Fighter 2, which, like his low heavy kick seems like it's the same low heavy kick from Street Fighter 2. Or I guess maybe like Champion Edition, but like because he's got the flash kick roll. But just so many of these moves look exactly the same way that they did.
Well, hey, man, when it works, it works. Don't fix what ain't broke.
I guess. I don't know. They had to give Chun-Li a fireball. Does anybody care about Street Fighter V? They probably care a little bit.
Yeah. I love the story costume, though.
It's like a plush.
Yeah, it's a plush version of him, but it's a costume that he wears.
Oh, okay.
Apparently there was a plushie released in the collector's edition of this newest edition, arcade edition, that was released in Japan.
Okay.
And it was a little plush that came with it.
Uh-huh.
So Japanese people in Japan actually got that plush. We don't.
Oh.
But I thought it still looks cool.
Well, that sucks. Well, I tell you what, if Street Fighter V isn't your bag, maybe you'd like to play SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy.
See, I feel like we talk about this a new trailer comes out almost every time I'm on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does seem that way. It seems like we've had. I mean, this is the third trailer for this game that we've had in 2 months or something like that.
Something
When
like that.
They announced this. So this is the SNK lady fighting game, and the last time that we saw a trailer for this, it was the kind of weirdly creepy one about they've all the SNK ladies have been
We're
kidnapped.
drugged and kidnapped.
And they're all wearing sexy bathing
Outfits.
suits.
Yeah.
And this trailer is literally called SNK Heroines Tag Team Friendly Alternate Costumes Trailer. And it basically shows that,
Their classic costumes are in the game.
yeah, but also you can make them wear bikinis. Now,
Yeah.
I look, here's the thing. I understand. I know that half of marketing a thing to a person in Japan generally has to do with weird anime girl fan service stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of baked into that, and I'm not a person who's like, Japan, you get your mind out of the gutter. I'm not going to tell Japan what to do. I guess what I find a little strange, John, is that this is the third time that we've talked about a trailer for this game, and not one of these trailers has really focused on what the mechanics are or how the game
Yeah.
plays. Like, they've mostly just been, look at the pretty girls, man. Look at the girls. They're so pretty. They're wearing bikinis. What up? Which I find a little weird, especially considering that we just got done watching a Street Fighter V Blanca trailer that was all just moves from
Yeah.
Blanca.
Yeah.
And that this trailer, half of this trailer was like, look at how cute these girls are. Woo woo. And I'm like, I mean, okay, I get it. It's just they're laying it on a bit thick for my taste.
Yeah, I mean, there was an article, and I kind of wanted to bring this up, an interview with Yasuyuki Oda,
Okay.
who's the game's producer. And I love some of his answers to some of the questions that Game Informer did with him in
Yeah.
this interview. Like, they were like, is it, do you feel like this is something that you're going to see in fighting game tournament audience, something like Evo, or is this heading for a more casual? And the guy's like, well, you've played it for yourself. Controls have been simplified, and we feel that opens up the gates to a little wider for people to know a game like SNK. But at the same time, there are mechanics in the game that we feel are capable of becoming competitive in fighting game that, could be played potentially at Evo. Yet,
So both.
yeah, he's like,
It
yeah,
answers
totally.
everything.
Yeah, but the other thing that I thought was funny, they're like, there has been backlash against games of this type that kind of flirt with sexuality as a driving force. Do you think this game follows in that, or do you think it bucks that trend in some way? And he's like, well, there's exposure of female parts, but we don't feel that it's overly sexualized. It is there, but we want to push the cute aspects of things, the elegantness of the women, and we feel like we're able to cull the people that would bash this game for there being too much exposure. And then then they bring up this well, that's weird because you have this, these girls in skimpily cow outfits, stuff like that. It's like, this doesn't. What would you say to the fan who has loved that character for years but sees this and it doesn't jive with what they know of that character's personality?
Right.
Like from a character standpoint.
Like Maya's wearing a cow bikini with like cow ears,
And he's like, well, there's a reason they're wearing these costumes. They're not just wearing these costumes because we wanted them to. There's a full story behind it, which we can't really go into details about at this moment. But if you play the story, I think our fans would better understand why they were put in this situation. We made an effort to make the image of our characters, we'll make sure the image of our characters will stay the same even after people play this game. And it's just like, the fuck?
Like, I am not opposed to dumb sex games. Like,
I just laughed at those. They were kind of BS answers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I guess and I'm not even opposed to having a fighting game that's got a lot of, like, I don't hate Dead or Alive on principle because of the
Oh, man,
physics.
I love the Dead or Alive games.
Yeah, I mean, you do whatever. Like, just about every single fighting game out there, I mean, outside of, like, Western, but most of the, Street Fighter and stuff like that, they have saucy costumes a lot of times for the lady characters. That's part of their thing. And I'm not going to sit here and just say like, well, I don't feel like any of that is warranted because again, it's different culture, different people like different things, different way of doing stuff. But I feel like that's most of what we've seen of this game has been look at the sexiness. Look at the sexy.
But there's a story reason for it, Jeff. It's not like they just wanted a game that put them in sexy clothing. No, there's a story reason for it.
I like the answer. I like that answer as if this was all actually happening somewhere, as opposed to like, you guys made this shit up. You could have made up something different where there wasn't a reason, and it was just like, you want to fight in a bikini, fight in a bikini, or whatever. But you had to have like, oh, the girls have been kidnapped. Oh no, what do? They gotta put on different bikinis that give them powers and different. Blah, 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 blah. I like SNK. I like King of Fighters. I like the idea of even this game. I just wish that I could get a little something that wasn't just like, look at it, look at that, look at that bottom you can put on. Oh man, she's got on a jacket with bikini briefs, and it's just, anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you'd like to have your romance, but maybe feel a little bit less sleazy and a little bit more confused, maybe give Monster Prom a try. This is a teaser that came out. I don't really know that much about this, but it seems kind of interesting. It is a multiplayer dating sim.
Yeah, that has me intrigued. The multiplayer dating sim aspect, the multiplayer aspect, has me more intrigued than anything else. Though I do think it's funny because it's a high school of monsters.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of like crazy monsters at a high school. And apparently there's going to be some amount of dating in it. I like the art style.
Yeah, the art style's nice.
Real kind of cool looking art style. So, this is weird. You should go check out the trailer. I'm still kind of waiting for a dating sim. I'm kind of waiting for dating sims. I have a problem with dating sims, John.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
They're entirely...
No, go ahead.
It's the same problem I have with visual novels. They are overwritten, and in a lot of cases, the same problem I have with some Japanese games is that they take a long fucking time to get to the point, and it's not necessary. It could be optional, and that traditionally they tend to fall into one of two categories recently. One is your traditional Japanese, just like fucking take your pick, right? My cat turned into a girl. A big boobed goddess moved into my neighborhood. I'm going to high school with the lacrosse team. I'm managing the girls' lacrosse team. Like, take your pick of dumb situation, and then, like, which girl do you like? And you're going to talk to her, and then eventually you're going to get a sexy picture. Huzzah! Or I feel like there's been a lot more inroads with stuff like Dream Daddy, and there was a couple of other kind of Western ones, but that those all seem like they're this very flaunting kind of like, look how different and weird this is. I'm just like, I wish there was one that was just well written, that was well written and not ponderous. Like there's somebody on Rage Select who really, really desperately wants Amanda and I to go back to Doki Doki Literature Club, right?
Yeah.
And when we got to the end of Doki Doki Literature Club, I was hitting the next page button as fast as I could for like 2.5 minutes, and we did not get through the dialogue. We weren't even reading it. I was just punching it for several minutes, and it was just, and then this person comes in, and this person comes in, and this person comes in, and this person comes in. That's just oh my God, that's a hell of a lot of just fucking dialogue for no good reason. Like, I'm not reading a book, I'm playing a game, and I don't know.
I will say,
Yeah.
And the reason you kind of looked at, you paused a moment, and I said keep going.
Yeah.
Is you paused the game or the trailer at a thing, and it
choice?
says it's a choice where apparently you're coming up to a griffin,
Right.
And you can either use a spell to turn the griffin into pasta, which also has me curious.
Yeah.
But the other one is challenge the griffin to a hip hop battle.
I want to play this game.
Greatest game 2018.
I think I want to play this
Game of the year.
I don't know. Well, definitely.
Hip-hop I want to challenge the griffin
I
to
wanna
a hip hop battle.
Challenge the griffin to a hip hop battle. It seems pretty cool. I don't know. I'd like to check it out. And then last but certainly not least, we're going to spend too much time with this, but a new trailer for The Witch and the Hundred Knight 2 came out, showing the different characters in the game. And it seems like this one is, I don't remember if the first one was 3D, but the only reason I wanted to bring this up was just because if y'all haven't watched Grant and I attempt to play The Witch and the Hundred Knight, I think that might have been the beginning of Grant's exposure to JRPGs, because he was not having it. He was not having any single solitary part of that particular game. This looks appropriately kind of wacky and weird, and it's coming out March 27th. The first Witch and the Hundred Knight, I feel like, was okay, but a little bland.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe we'll kick it up a notch. All right, well, we got some announcements, and then we're going to wrap it up. Let's see. First up, Bandai Namco is rumored, they're pretty certain, but fairly heavily rumored to be the developers of Metroid Prime 4.
I think it was confirmed.
Was it confirmed? It might have happened since this story came out. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't going to be retro.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo flat out stated they already had retro working on other stuff.
I really like Bandai Namco. So this actually, I've been a little poo-pooey about Prime 4. But knowing it's Namco Bandai, it gives me a little bit more hope. I'd like to see exactly what they're doing. I'm still kind of curious to see if it's going to be a first-person game.
I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be, because I mean that's kind of what Metroid Prime is as a franchise. It's a first-person game.
Maybe, but the thing is that and it's not to say that you never get something different, but like Bandai Namco Singapore, I just don't know that many first-person Bandai Namco games.
No, I agree.
So I don't know. But like I said, I'm a little bit more excited. I really just hope it's something. I really just hope that it has Metroidvania flavor to it. That's the thing that I like. It doesn't even have to be a side scroller, but like because Arkham Asylum was a Metroidvania game, right? Where you were using new things to unlock new areas that you couldn't get to before, but then those things also had like a practical combat application, and that's what I wanted. Like in Metroid, the Metroid 2 remake for the 3DS that came out last year, it's like you were getting new weapons, but your main goal was just to kill enough of these one type of enemy to make like an artificial constraint. It made to make lava go down so you could go down to the next level, right? Or to open up a door that would only open up once you killed X number of the Metroid mutations. And like to me, that's always been one of the reasons why Metroid 2 is less interesting to me than Metroid or even Super Metroid, is because those, when they give you new they give you a new ability like the missile, right? It opens up doors that you couldn't open up before, but it's also a combat mechanic as opposed to just being purely. So it really gives you a nice feeling of growing, and every time you get a new power, it feels really interesting because you're like, oh shit, I can go back to that place in the first level where I couldn't get through that door, and maybe this will open up that door. And I feel like that was kind of lost in some of the later entries.
I mean, Metroid Prime had some of that.
It definitely had some of that. I felt though by at least like by the third one where they were doing the Wii U or the Wii motion control
Yeah.
stuff, and they kind of got way up their own ass with the Dark trilogy. Or what is it? The Phazon Energy, Dark Samus,
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and it was like, I don't know. It's always worth remembering that even if you don't like a game, I put the story in just because I want to make it clear that even if you don't like a game, a lot of times that's not the deciding factor. For Honor surpassed 7.5 million players. Is rolling strong and just got into season 5.
Yeah.
So for a game that I think very, very little about, it's like The Division, right?
Yeah.
Or Ghost Recon Wildlands or Rainbow Six Siege. Like
It's
these
always
games,
surprising to hear that those are still a major thing.
right? And that there are a lot of people playing them. So I don't know. Maybe I should pop in For Honor and see. I liked For Honor when I played it. I wonder if it's become too hard to play, or if everybody's just playing the same
Don't know.
like meta or something like that. If you have an Amazon Prime membership or a Twitch account, apparently February 27th, you can log into either one of those and get yourself a free copy of Devil May Cry Original HD on the PC.
Yes.
And if you haven't ever played the original Devil May Cry, it's a good game. As much squabbling and crosstalk and feelings as I may have for Devil May Cry DMC or Devil May Cry 4 or the fan base of Devil May Cry 1 is still a great game.
Oh yeah, no, it's fantastic.
So Friday the 13th is finally getting those single player challenges.
Oh, hey, good for them.
Which is good because the last time that I tried to play that game with Jason, there was literally sat at the server connect screen for like 5 minutes and then just played against bots, which was entirely unsatisfying. But maybe have to go back and get Brian to come over here and see about slashing up some teenagers. Apparently, the first one is like a very specific thing of teenagers broken down in the woods, and you can like kill them by knocking the jack out of the car and stuff like that. So I don't know. That game has potential. It's again a question that I feel like we ask from time to time, which is if you build your game around an online component and then everybody stops playing your game because the new hotness thing came out, was that a good idea? Because it could give you longevity, or it could end up fizzling out and destroying your game.
Yeah.
Kind of like what was the Cliff Bleszinski Lawbreakers?
Oh, yeah, Lawbreakers.
There was a brief moment where apparently a misprint on the website of one of the of a company called Armature that made the Metal Gear Solid HD collection on the PS3 led people to believe that Metal Gear Solid, the HD collection, would be coming to the PS4. It has since been debunked, and Metal Gear Solid HD collection is not coming to the PS4. Sad Jeff.
Yep.
Metal Gear Solid HD collection is a hell of a game, and if they wanted to get me interested in Metal Gear Survive, that might be a way to do so. There is a special secret in Shadow of the Colossus remake.
Yeah.
Where apparently one of the biggest what was this? Nomad Colossus? No, wait. Is it Nomad Colossus the name of the person who like dug up a lot of the original secrets and stuff,
remember,
like
yeah.
found stuff? Apparently on one of his streams he spent a long time like looking at a door in the original game that wouldn't open, and that apparently if you collect all of the like enlightenments, I think
Yeah, it's 79 enlightenments.
then you can open that door and there's a special sword in there that you
Yeah.
can get. So
It's a sword that it doesn't actually. It's not really all that great.
yeah. I don't know. I'm still confused about the differences between the different equipment in that game. Let's see. Where the Water Tastes Like Wine is coming out this month. So February 28th is getting a release date. For those of you who've forgotten about that, this is a kind of an interesting game about the South, American South, kind of main character traveling around having like conversations with people. This is the game from one of the developers from Gone Home.
Okay.
Gone Home. So it seems kind of interesting. It's a setting that we don't see all that often,
Yeah.
and it's a developer that did pretty good their first time out. So I feel like half of them split off to was it Tacoma?
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then the other half went to go do this. So we'll see at the end of the month. And last but not least, one of the most strange stories that I had this week about video games.
Ah, yes.
Apparently, Chris Columbus is going to make the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Yep, for Blumhouse. Yeah.
That's a terrible choice.
Yeah.
Chris Columbus isn't a horror director. Directed the first 2 Harry Potter movies and Pixels, FFS. Like, I don't know. This just seems like he's a real like workhorse guy. I feel like you could give it to him and be like, get it done, and he would get it done. But like, I don't know that there's anything about Chris Columbus. Gremlins maybe is would make me think that he would be good at this.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, here's the thing. I've seen instances where people have handed directors a genre that I'm like, there's no way they're going to be good in.
Yeah.
And then they've made a really fucking great movie.
Yeah.
Like that just wowed the shit out of me. So it's kind of one of those things that I'll wait for a trailer to. I mean, in all honesty, what would a Five Nights at Freddy's movie be is my big question. But apparently they have a script, and
Pixels, Percy Jackson, and the Olympians. I Love You, Beth Cooper, Rent, the first 2 Harry Potter movies, Bicentennial Man. That's all the way up to 99.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then again, always to remember that there was no part of me that thought that James Gunn could do as good of a job with a big budget sci-fi movie as he did. So
no, like I said, directors have surprised me before.
Yep.
So,
I don't know. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Let us know down below. I mean, yeah, do you even think that I think that Five Nights is so... I think that as long as they take the base concept of the animatronics come alive at night and try to kill people, and maybe they have the souls of children, that's a perfectly functional horror movie concept.
Yeah.
Now, when you watch fucking Game Theory's 12th Five Nights, about how the things, and then you get into Sister Location and Springtrap and the
purple guy and the other purple guy. And the Afton family.
Yeah. No. But you could take the idea of the animatronics come to life and then try to kill you. That works, Oh man, I just got a job at that the Freddy Fazbear Pizza as the night security. Like, hey guys, they've got a sweet setup down there. Come on down, we'll fucking eat some pizza off the clock. And like, okay, and then like, we were having a good time. Some girls taking a shirt off, and then like, chunk, like, what was that? Shit, the doors are locked. Wait, where are the animatronics? And then like, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre noise, and then like, and like, fuck, they're alive. Like, oh god, get in the vents. Like, there's a girl screaming, she's being pulled out of the vents, and then like, fucking, and then there's like you see the silhouette in the door, and like the Freddy Fazbear animatronic like steps in front of it, and you can recognize the head outline. 5 Nights coming October 2018. Like, okay, fine, I can see that in my head. I just don't know that Chris Columbus was the guy that I saw doing that.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that, let's go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we will answer some questions. So stick around, everybody, and we'll see you in just a minute. And we're back. And it is time for questions. John, you ready for the questions?
Yes.
Now you're ready.
Yes,
okay.
I'm ready. I had
You
to
look
think about
ready.
it for a second.
Okay.
I had to think about it. I wasn't 100% sure.
Fair enough. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address, and we don't have anything. I mean, we don't have anything to preempt them. So this week we're just going to jump right in. Our first question comes in from Daniel, and Daniel says, "Hello, Jeff and John.
Hey.
There's a sentiment I see a lot online where if a website and or other journalistic outlet does a think piece article on video games, it's met with a majority of negative response. It can range from a dismissive response of, oh, you're overthinking it, to the usual vitriol we see on social media. It may vary on the topic covered in these articles, but the general trend and reception I see is usually negative. With that in mind, what is your general view on think piece articles that you've seen at places like Gamasutra, Waypoint, etc.? Do you think most of them are pretentious and or snobby, or do you see them as valid ways of critiquing games? Understand if your answer is it depends, but would love to know your views either way. Thanks, from Daniel."
I mean, I'm okay with them. I mean, I've never really had a problem with think pieces. I mean, I can't think of any specific that have been like, where I've been like, wow, you're wrong.
Yeah. I can. I mean, this is largely old ground, and one of the weird, kind of a weird one. But remember at the beginning of Gamergate when Lee Alexander on Gamasutra wrote that article called like "Gamers Are Over" or whatever, where it was just like, you're all basically just a bunch of corporate stooges who have been like built your identities based on the marketing campaigns of gigantic corporations.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a little insulting, because I like to think a lot about video games, and I think that video games are really important, and the idea that it's just like, I don't know, anytime that it kind of feeds into that whole like, oh, you gamers, you're just a bunch of unshaven, unwashed people living in your parents' basement, which I am unshaven and unwashed, but I own my own like domicile, so I'm not living in my parents' basement, not yet anyway. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel like there's interesting. It's so weird because it's also goddamn polarized, right?
Yeah.
That like, I think there's actually really interesting discussions. It's like the SNK thing that we were talking about before, where I don't necessarily have a problem with having sex in video games, but I feel like some people are more than willing to just dismiss a video game outright because there's any kind of sexual content in it. And a lot of times I feel like there's an expectation for, some games are judged more harshly than other games based on violent content. I don't know. I think it's interesting to think about these things. Like I was talking about previously, it's kind of interesting to watch Extra Credits and the Jimquisition make both a case for and a case against like pricing and microtransactions and loot boxes and that sort of thing. And I can kind of see where both sides are coming from, and I think that it's interesting to think about. I don't know. I mean, like, I feel that this think piece issue isn't just about video games.
Yeah.
That anybody who has an opinion about anything these days is met with a certain amount of pushback because there's an internet, right?
Jeff, I think that opinion is stupid. You should feel bad for it.
There you go. Well, hell, I mean, I've had my own pushback against my own opinions a bunch of times.
I'm just messing with you.
No. I mean, granted, sometimes they aren't as well thought out as, a lot of these places that do this stuff like for a job. And a lot of times I'll disagree with certain things, but I think it's worth at least considering stuff from other angles and not just kind of, being content to sit. Like, I think it's interesting, the idea, the Extra Credits video that I was talking about loot boxes basically had this idea that if game development costs are indeed rising, that there's an interesting case to be made about saying that if you put something like a loot box mechanic in your game, that you're essentially having wealthier players who feel like they've got money to burn on stuff like loot boxes, subsidizing your game development instead of raising the cost of your game. I mean, I feel like that's the reason why Blizzard can put so much time and work into Overwatch, right?
Yeah.
And tweaking it and putting in new characters, new maps, and developing new stuff. And as we've mentioned multiple times before, not just developing them, not just like kind of throwaway skins, right? But like brand new characters that affect the balance of the game, and brand new maps that play differently than previous maps. Stuff like their events that they do, what they're doing Year of the Dog right now. And that a lot of that stuff has to be funded somehow.
Oh yeah, no, completely.
And that, would you rather Overwatch have either a subscription cost, or like,
would you rather Overwatch to have been the game that it was when it was released, outside of like balancing patches and stuff like that, and nothing else? Like, that's it. Like, there's no other. Like, you paid $60, that game you got, that's it. That's everything.
Or I mean, it is entirely in the realm of possibility. Like, if we look pre loot box economy, that you would have paid $20 for Ava, Sombra, Orisa, and Doomfist.
Yeah.
And, Eichenwald and Blizzard World and, the new maps that have been added into the game.
The new modes, the new game modes, Lucio Ball.
Right.
Like the Capture the Flag that's currently going on, the free-for-all mode.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, see, I honestly feel like Overwatch is the best possible example of this, because you can talk all you want to about the skins, right? But none of the skins impact play. Like, none of them make a difference to the way that Tracer feels when you're playing Tracer. There is nothing that you can put real world money into after you spent $60 on Overwatch that makes Tracer feel any less or more Tracer than Tracer is. Which, not even Team Fortress 2 has all the different like unlocks and different stuff that you can get. I've been playing Warframe a little bit recently that has plenty of ways that you can dump money into it. There's a lot of games that are a lot shittier about asking for your money, about trying to get you to spend more money on them. But in any case, I do think it's something worth talking about. The only thing that I have a real aversion to is the sentiment that shut up. That's the sentiment that I hate, and it's one of the reasons that the things on that when I talk about stuff, that the stuff on YouTube that is the most irritating to me is comments of stop talking about things. Like, I don't want to. I'm sick of hearing about this, and this is all voluntary, right? Like, you have to click on an article and read it. You have to click on a video and watch it. So if you don't like a thing, you can just kind of ignore it, for better or worse. I don't know. There's been some weird stuff. I need to go back and look at it. I was kind of thinking the same thing. Apparently, that Kingdom Come Deliverance game that came out this week, like a hardcore kind of Eastern European.
Got some problems.
It's weird because the game itself is strange, and I can kind of see that there's a little bit in the presentation. This kind of throwbacky, but apparently, like, the developer is just like kind of a shit.
Well, this is their first game,
right?
They've never made a game prior to this, and on top of that, it was kickstarted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
like it's a case of a very small development team,
right?
Maybe being a little bit too ambitious with what they wanted to do,
right?
And them making a game and actually making the game, but it doesn't quite work the way that they want it to, and also the way that they've been kind of reacting to fans or people who are buying the game since has not been the best. And not saying that they're like saying anything mean or like even like being mean to
somebody was saying that one of the directors or somebody high up in the tree was like gets on his Twitter and is like these fucking SJWs with their bullshit and like,
well, one of the directors was like one of the high-ranking Gamergate people.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, like he was someone who was like a high-ranking Gamergate.
I don't know. I almost took that game outside and smashed it with a hammer.
Yeah.
Because there's a part where the game didn't communicate to me well enough what I needed to do to get out of a situation, and I died 12 times in the same location, and every time was faced with a load screen and was like, I don't know. And it was like one of the first times outside of the tutorial that you get a chance to even do anything in the game.
Yeah.
Now, I've played it a little bit since, and it's so dialogue heavy and so history heavy. I do there's parts of it that I kind of like, but I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I went online to look at people who were like, this game is so hard. What the fuck do I even do? I want to play this game, but it's so goddamn hard. And it was kind of that get good noob mentality. Whereas I feel like a lot of times when I bring up either, when I was talking about visual novels and the way that they're overwritten, or sometimes when I talk about JRPGs and a very slow start, or talk about Kingdom Hearts and like why you're not bringing new people in, a lot of times I feel like the response to that is just like is ridicule.
We'll suck it up.
Yeah, exactly. Is essentially get good noob. And well, if you want to understand if you want to play Kingdom Hearts 3, you just need to play all other 8 40-hour RPGs that they've put out to understand like everything that's going on. It's like, fuck you. Like, I got things I got to do. I don't have time for that. But in general, I think it's also worth noting, Daniel, as always, that what we see online when it comes to negativity, you got to remember that, let's say that I put up a video and there's like 3 mean people in the comments on YouTube. On a good day, a Rage Select videos hits 1,500 hits. And that's a minuscule percentage, because most people that agree or are interested or thoughtful, a lot of times, they don't stop to write a comment saying, good job, good.
I agree.
Right, exactly. Sometimes they do,
yeah.
But a lot of times you just do it and then you just go on with your life, right?
Yeah.
Because you got stuff to
hell,
do.
there's a ton of YouTube videos or articles that I read that I'll, like, here's the thing. I heavily browse Kotaku and Polygon and Game Informer. Like, I have, like, every day. Now, mind you, partially because of my job and partially because of when I come to do the podcast here.
Sure.
Is part of those reasons because I want to stay up to date on what's going on with games, and I like being informed. But I read like their think pieces, and like there are times where I'm like, this person's fucking wrong,
Right.
and then but I don't. Like saying I don't post on their comments. Like I basically just like, well, this person's wrong. I'm gonna stop reading this.
Right.
Or I'll read it, it's like, man, that was a really good piece. That person's right. I might share it on my Facebook or something and be like, this is something worth reading. But outside of that, I don't post or comment, and so they don't know that I liked it or didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's gonna, not everyone is gonna make a comment. And typically the people who are more likely to make comments are the people who disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because they want to point out why you're wrong. Whereas the people who think you're right are like, yeah, no, you're right.
Right. Yep.
I don't need to add anything more to it because you're right.
It also, I mean, think about the times that you've gone to a thing and you've scrolled through the comment section or I don't know, negative comments also tend to stick with you more than positive comments. So it's like you'll read 5 positive comments and then one real hateful negative comment, and your brain remembers the real hateful negative comment but doesn't really register the 5 like, whatever. Or even milquetoast like, I think you're kind of right, but I don't know. I have some problems with that, blah, 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 blah. So, next up, this one comes in from Vova. Vova says, hello, Rage Masters. Hope you're all doing well and having fun. Easy question. I'm getting a PS4 this week, finally, and I'm eager to check out some great exclusives, including this year's ones. But what are the games that you consider the PS4's hidden gems at this point? System has been out for 4.5 years, so it should have some games that you would think were generally overlooked but are still good. Harder question. I've heard some websites say that Sony are eager to make an answer to Microsoft's Xbox One X, and even though it's technically more powerful than the PS4 Pro, it doesn't have games or VR. When do you think that Sony will announce a PS4.5 Pro or PS5? I'm hoping it's not earlier than 2020. Keep being awesome and have a lovely rest of the week. Your little fan and patron, Vova. So I don't know, John. Do you think that we're going to see another hardware upgrade? Because I feel like Sony,
not for at least 3 years.
I don't think it'll be anytime soon. Because
like it'll be at least 3 years. I think it'll be 2020 before we see a new console.
Yeah,
and that is even like
yeah. I mean, yeah, because the Xbox One X is more powerful than the PS4 Pro, but not by a huge margin, right?
Yeah.
Like not incredibly. Like I feel like we're starting to hit the upper limit of like if you don't have a 4K TV, is the difference between the Xbox One and the Xbox One X or the PS4 default and the PS4 Pro, is it really worth it? I mean, I got a PS4 Pro because the optical drive on my PS4 was going out, and I do so much for Rage Select on the PS4 that it would be nice to have the one that had a little bit better. And, I also can't wait to see what the super sampling looks like in the 5.5 update where they, if the PS4 Pro has 4K support in a game, they render the game at 4K and then just squeeze it down to 1080. So you're actually, I don't know. I can't tell if you're going to get more detail out of that because it is rendering higher, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to at least see. But I don't think that we're going to see a second hardware refresh. Maybe like a Pro Slim.
Yeah, I mean, you might get that.
Like with the next year or two, but I don't think anything.
Again, I don't think we're going to see anything till 2020 at the earliest.
I think you would see a VR refresh harder, or like a second refresh, I should say, sooner than you would see a console refresh. Because, I mean, as near as I can tell, outside of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds and the backwards compatibility, like the PS4 is kind of eating the Xbox's lunch right now.
Yeah.
So. I mean, and I don't know. I mean,
hell, even Nintendo is eating Microsoft's lunch.
Well, the other thing that I feel like a lot of people tend to forget when it comes to Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo is that the PlayStation rules Europe. Like Xbox adoption in both Europe and Japan is extremely low. So, even if in the U.S. it's neck and neck, you've still got 2 other gigantic markets that are having where the PlayStation tends to be, and then Nintendo just dominates in Japan, right? So I don't know. You got to kind of take all that into consideration. But in any case, the end of that is I don't think there's going to be anything. I don't think there's going to be any refresh soon.
Yeah. What was the other part of the first
PS4 hidden gems?
Oh.
I can think of a few.
Hellblade.
Hellblade.
No, that's talked about a lot, but I can't
Yeah.
suggest enough. Hellblade.
I know that I talk about it all the time, but Hitman, I think, is it's cross-platform, right? So it's not a PS4. I don't know if you're looking for Vov, I don't know if you're looking for PS4 specific games. So let me think of some other ones. So, you know what? I don't feel like Infamous Second Son gets enough love. And the expansion, with the lady,
Yeah.
with the neon lady.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of those games got enough love. Well, that wasn't Guerrilla. Guerrilla was Killzone Shadowfall, which I also thought was a pretty good game, but I wouldn't exactly call it like a gem. I'm trying to think of anything that's like platform.
I'm trying to think of what games do I own.
Yeah,
Because, like, that's actually a big thing, like, of me buying games, because especially buying them for the PS4.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, you know.
I'm just trying to think of games.
If you never played them before, Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami.
Yeah.
If you never played a Yakuza game, those are definitely going to be great.
Galgun Double Piece.
Don't listen to Jeff on that one.
Let's see. I'm just kind of looking over my games here. Battlefield, Madden, Need for Speed.
Valkyria Chronicles remastered.
Okay.
I talk about that a lot.
I feel like it's hard these days because hidden is like all
is
games.
Eye of Beholder.
Yeah, games get so much press these days that it's hard to think of them. I mean, the ones that
I would even say digital games that I can think of, like Hand of Fate 2, non-exclusive title, but Hand of Fate 2 was really good.
Until Dawn?
Until Dawn? Oh, fuck yeah. Until Dawn was great.
Yeah. I was going to check. I just did a search. Yeah, Infamous First Light. That's one I already said. This is Little Big Planet. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard because there's just everything gets so much press and coverage these days that like everybody pushes everything all the time to a point where I just don't know. I just don't know if there's anything that you probably haven't already heard about. I mean, obviously, you know, Uncharted Collection and The Last of Us. If you haven't played any of those, that's pretty simple. This list is terrible.
Well, it's the list you're looking at is a lot of VR games and a lot of JRPGs,
Right.
which there's a lot of on the PS4.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. I mean, goddamn, I could just list stuff. Odin Sphere? I never really got a chance to finally go into Odin Sphere and see how it looked. Wait, Trackmania is on the PS4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is not a very good list. I mean, I feel like a lot of the games that that I really like, we just wait. This is the exact same goddamn website. It's the exact same goddamn list.
Well,
Okay.
that website is nothing but lists.
Oh, okay.
So you could be looking at two different lists.
Here, let's look at a couple of these other ones. I mean, there's stuff like Oxenfree or like the Swapper, or even like we just played the Fall Part 2 or the original
Super
The
Hot.
Fall. Super Hot. Yeah. I mean, like all that stuff definitely works. There's fucking Night in the Woods. I liked Thimbleweed Park. I never got a chance to finally like finish it.
What the hell is it called that everyone really... It's on PS4 now, but it didn't start off on the PS4. It was Earthbound...
Yeah. Wait, are you talking about Undertale?
Undertale, thank you. Yeah, Undertale is on the PS4. So that's if you never played that, that's a great way to experience it.
Katana Zero. I don't think I've actually played that game.
Never even heard of it.
Absolver is really cool. I can't say enough. And Absolver has continued to do updates since Absolver came out. Like they've put in new die packs and like different like ways of doing stuff. I actually can beat Absolver in like I don't know, like an hour or 2 hours. But that's not exactly a huge thing. Let's see, Ukulele. I don't know about that. Pyre. I mean, if you haven't played any of the Supergiant stuff, Bastion, Transistor, I'm pretty sure all of those are on there. Oh man, is anybody still playing? What was that game that you and I and Amanda played? That was the shit. It was like an online game where you came from Super Earth, right? And you were going out to fight like you would call in like mechs. And
yeah, it was very.
What the hell was the name of that game? That game was fun as hell, but I don't know if it's still. That one doesn't work unless you have people online to play it with.
Yeah.
It was no. This is like a theory called Super Earth.
Helldivers, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really fun
Helldivers
game.
was good. Even had a good expansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably Nidhogg, Guacamelee, Crypt of the Necrodancer.
They announced a Guacamelee 2, didn't they? A while back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Guacamelee is a good one to, play that before the sequel comes out.
Yeah. Super Time Force, that's a good one.
Yeah, Super Time Force is pretty awesome.
Gravity
Super
Rush.
Time Force Ultimate, STFU.
Invisible Ink, we played that before. Banner Saga, The Witness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like that's a fair amount. It's hard. Again, as I say to everybody, go to Metacritic, do a search on the platform by score, and just see what you come up with. Drew writes in and says, "Dear Jeff and morally ambiguous co-host, a.k.a. John, one of the questions from last week brought to mind one of the most morally challenging games I've ever played, Spec Ops: The Line. What could initially be dismissed as another generic cover-based shooter quickly took a dark turn. Player has several choices. They could shoot NPCs mid-sentence, fire into crowds of unarmed civilians, or shoot over their heads to scare them away and execute fallen helpless enemies. There's one horrible choice that did not seem to have an option, though. The only way to progress through one section was to fire white phosphorus into a crowd of soldiers and civilians. However, I discovered a quote from the director saying, even that was a choice because the player could always turn the game off and walk away. It's a great commentary on gaming mentality and has stuck with me for years. Have you ever had any experiences that changed the way you thought about a game or how we as players act in-game? Happy Valentine's Day from Drew. Probably fall back on the BioShock.
Yeah.
With the whole "Would you kindly" thing, and how like I still to this day feel like that's such a very, very interesting meta commentary on that you just did it because you're so used to following the directions of the person who pops up on your screen in games and tells you what to do. They're just like, and it's like, ha, I've been mind controlling you. And you're like, no, I did it of my own volition. But then you're like, but wait, what? Maybe, I don't know. What is real?
Yeah.
Amanda and I just got done playing through a big chunk of the Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
I really like I really like those guys, the Stanley Parable, and then the Beginner's Guide was the other one that they did, because again, those use the interactivity of games in order to ask questions of you, or which I really appreciate. How about you? You think anything comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty much all solid answers. I can't really think of
Papers, Please.
Yeah.
I think Papers, Please is brilliant. I don't think it gets. I think it gets mentioned with reverence, but I think that the idea of putting you in the shoes of a person or of a person that is in your normal day-to-day life would widely be considered to be like an obstacle and somebody to be hated, and then kind of trying to give you a way of seeing the world through their perspective, I think was really, really interesting. I think that there's been a few where the actual thing, the moral ambiguity has flown over my head until somebody pointed it out. Like the way that the original Dark Souls always ends with your character either lighting the fire or walking away from the fire, but then it reboots the game into New Game Plus. Symbolizing the way that the cycle keeps going and that your actions really don't have any consequences. And
the only way to end the cycle is to just stop playing the game.
Stop playing the game, yeah, which I think is really kind of interesting. The Extra Credits guys, again, pointed out a really interesting thing about Prey, about how Prey gives you the test at the beginning, this kind of test of your morality, and then that test is mirrored in the actual plot of the game, where by the time you get to the end, they've essentially they've taken this very quick, like, kind of moral test and then expanded it into a 12-hour video game that then at the end asks you the question. So given the actual simulation that you've gone through, do you still have the same answer that you had when you were presented with the very, pat test at the very beginning? Do you sacrifice people that you know to save more people that you don't know, and things like that? So I think that was really interesting as well. I'm trying to think if there's any others that really come to mind. I'm sure there's been a lot of stuff over the years. Omicron: The Nomad Soul, the first time, that was one of the first games that I can remember where the main protagonist of the game walks up to the screen and is like, "Hey, you playing this game, like, you have control of my soul. Don't fuck it up, because my soul's your soul too, and if I die, we're both going to hell." And it's just like, oh shit, fuck, it's too much pressure. I think that this is more subversion than it is making me think about, like, actual moral quandaries of video games. But Pony Island.
Oh yeah,
Pony Island was diabolical. The fact that game, that part of playing that game is that it crashes to desktop.
Yeah.
It was,
which apparently that's the thing that happens in Doki Doki Planet Literature Club or whatever.
Oh, Doki Doki Literature Club. Yeah.
Like at some point, it actually, like, you actually have to go delete files from the game or like look at files, like, to actually continue.
I'm not saying that Doki Doki Literature Club doesn't seem interesting. I'm just saying that I don't have the time to, like, the person who keeps suggesting it keeps suggesting it as a sequential. I think it would be so boring because it'd just be sitting there reading out loud dialogue after dialogue after dialogue.
I'm not saying. Oh no. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying it does something similar to that. God, Shadow of the Colossus actually is another one, because I feel like that one, like the original when it first came out, kind of subverts the game in the same way that BioShock does. It's just instead of someone saying "would you kindly,"
right,
you're presented with this game where it doesn't really, it tells you some stuff, but then it's like, go kill these colossi to save the one you love.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, and as a player you're like, well, of course I'm gonna go kill them. I'm like the hero Link, and I'm gonna go fight the evil giant beasts who are clearly destroying. And then, like, you kill one, and it's kind of like, well, that animation doesn't kind of seem right. And then, like, as you play it more, you're kind of like, these guys aren't really doing anything bad.
Right.
Why am I killing, and you start to kind of realize, oh, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
And it subverts it.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, you may not realize what you're doing until about halfway to the end. Some people maybe not until the very end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But then it's a question of, like, the right thing to do at that point is to stop playing Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah. I know some people who like, I think got like 2 colossi in and then have put the game down because they just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, no, I can't do that. I don't care how good the game is.
Right.
That I already see where it's going, and I want no part of that.
Yeah. It is laudable. Yeah. Also, though, maybe the other thing, Drew, is that I had a lot of time to think about my own personal morality, and so, I feel like there's a bunch of times in your life where it's like the first time that you're presented with a weird morally gray situation. Here's the time when, like, this blah 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 blah. It's kind of what I was talking about with Blade Runner 2049, where it's like, are machines that can think like us, or like, is artificial life have a soul? Like, is it alive? I made all my decisions with that. So there's going to have to be a pretty raucous video game that actually questions my own fundamental morality, as opposed to just, like, presenting a very interesting scenario to work through. But this next one comes from Tom from Old England, who says, hello, High Priest Jeff and John. How Jesus wasn't a thing, wasn't thought of sooner, astounds me. Truly, Don Cleves works in mysterious ways. Me and a friend are planning a Texas/Southern America road trip. We're aiming to be traveling via car for 2 weeks total, with a starting point of Houston. It'd be awesome if I could meet up and buy you guys all the beers / Dr. Peppers for John. My questions: if you have 2 weeks, you have 2 weeks. If you were our tour guide, what should we aim to do to get the ultimate Southern experience? So far, we have 2 country concerts lined up and 2 rodeos, one in Giddings and another in Longhorn. How I'll be able to contain my laughter at mutton bustin', though, is beyond me. All the best, loyal patron Tom from Old England. This is kind of a difficult question, Tom, because I don't feel like Austin is really the South.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, obviously you're going to the rodeo.
Sure.
You're going to be in Giddings, which is like 30 minutes away from Austin.
Yeah.
So that's pretty close. But as far as like, I'm trying to think of like what like Southern things like would you experience like in Houston or
Eat barbecue.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to go to barbecue places. You don't over barbecue yourself. Don't like go barbecue every day.
Well, if you're looking for a Texas,
But
yeah,
Buc-ee's.
yeah,
You got to go to Buc-ee's.
okay,
You get to go for balls.
Uh-huh.
You'll like them.
Yeah.
Get their beef jerky. It's
Right.
fucking awesome.
okay,
You got to go to Buc-ee's. There's one in Giddings.
okay. I know what it is, but I've never been to a Buc-ee's.
But if you want to go to a better one than the one in Giddings, if you end up like from Austin, go to San Antonio. There's one between Austin and San Antonio that is like the Buc-ee's to go to because it's the one in Giddings is just a gas station
Right.
that has some Buc-ee's stuff. But the one between Austin and San Antonio is like a fucking like it is a truck rest stop and like you go in and they have like T-shirts and like
Oh, yeah.
like little just a whole bunch of crap.
Yep.
And then they have like a giant area where people making shit, and they're open 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like every Buc-ee's is open 24 hours. So regardless if you're doing like a late night driving, like stop at Buc-ee's.
Okay,
Like fucking, it's awesome.
okay.
I like Buc-ee's.
I'd say also when it comes to the food stuff, you should also try to find yourself some Mexican food, and you should also try to find yourself some. If you're from England, you should probably at least one time go for a Southern comfort food,
Yeah.
chicken fried steak, or that kind of stuff. Kind of.
Yeah. Get some Tex-Mex. Get some regular Mex.
Yep. As far as
I do want to stress that there is a difference between Mexican food and Tex-Mex.
absolutely.
Don't want to confuse those two.
Also, you should probably don't ask anybody what the difference is, because then you're going to be there for a while while they explain to you the differences and things.
A lot of cheese.
A lot of cheese. Yeah, if you're driving, I mean, there is a good case to be made for San Antonio. The Riverwalk, the Alamo.
Yeah.
If you want to go, I'm trying to think of like, you see, the problem, Tom, is that I'm not exactly like a super Southern man. I'm not just like, yeehaw, I like to put on my denim shirt and go just ride a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably find a place to ride a horse. You probably find a place with, some kind of trail or whatever that you can do.
And then the
Really,
only
what
thing I could say, if you're not going to San Antonio, because he could be going from Houston to Austin to Dallas,
Okay.
because that's kind of a different
Ugh.
direction.
Dallas.
Which I don't know which way you're going. I know there's also a Buc-ee between Austin and Dallas too. I'm just saying. But to get off of the Buc-ee's,
Yeah, that's what I'm say.
but I just wanted to add that there,
Sure,
because it
sure.
just dawned on me you may not be going to San Antonio,
Right.
and that's just it. I don't really know what goes on in Dallas all that much because I try to avoid Dallas.
Dallas sucks.
Most people try to avoid Dallas.
Don't go to Dallas. Dallas sucks. Go to San Antonio. San Antonio rules.
San Antonio is nice. There's like you said, the Riverwalk. There's the Alamo. There's
If you're near Austin, and I don't know what time of year you're planning on coming, but you might drive up to San Marcos and go tubing.
yeah,
There's a lot of tubing happens around here.
summer, yeah.
Um,
But if you are coming to Austin, definitely shoot Jeff an email or hit us up, hit me or Jeff up on Twitter.
yeah.
Say, hey, let us know when you're coming in, and we'll see if we're gonna make it.
Yeah.
If we're able to make it. Like, I know I don't have. Outside of one huge trip I'm going to be doing in late August, I should be available to at least hang out one night or go meet you somewhere and
Yeah.
on one of the whatevers, depending on when you're coming in. But I mean,
you got 2 country western concerts and 2 rodeos. Like outside of, you're gonna be pretty busy, man. You got 2 weeks, but like, Schlitterbahn.
yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Drink.
as far as,
There's a lot of drinking.
I mean, all I could think of is like, is there usually like a county fair or whatever going around rodeo or whatever? Like, can you go get fried Twinkies and fried Dr. Pepper and fried whatever?
It depends on where you are and what time of year it is. I feel
Okay.
like that's a summer or spring summer thing. So if they're not here, if they're planning on coming
Yeah.
in a month or two, you might be able to find a county fair.
See if there's any. See if you're in Houston, see if there's an Astros game going on, if it's during baseball season, if it's during football season, which I mean, again, I don't know when. I know football season just ended, but if you're in football season, see if there's a Texans game going on. If you're in Austin, see if there's a fucking like if you're into sports, that is. I mean, I don't know if you may not be into sports, but if you're into sports, maybe if you're in Austin, see if there's a fucking college game going on or for the
Jesus,
for
UT.
for UT, but yeah, so
okay. This next one comes in from JD. JD says, "Hey Jeff and John, I've been dealing with a really bad depression for the past couple of months. I was recently hospitalized for a few days because of it. Oh, that sucks.
That sucks, man.
One of the first things I did when I got back was listen to the Rage Select podcast I'd missed. It really put me in a better mood and eased my anxiety after a stressful ordeal.
Well, we appreciate
Just
that.
wanted to say thanks for everything you guys do. I'm sure I can speak for a lot of listeners when I say that your show really makes a difference in a lot of different lives. Yay." Anywho, it's a podcast, so here's a question. What are your go-to feel-good games? Something that just instantly sets you at ease and drives out all the noise of everyday life. I also love to hear about any of your other non-gaming related stress relief activities. Thanks again, JD.
Mine kind of changes from time to time. Because, I mean, I'll play, like, for a while I played a lot of Hand of Fate.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Hand of Fate 2, kind of like that. The Ghostbusters video game.
Really?
I really enjoy. There was a period where I would do that with No Man's Sky. Like, I would just turn on No Man's Sky, put on some chill-ass music, and then just fucking mindlessly... Like, Minecraft is also another one. Like, if I just want nothing, like... I don't want any sensory overload or really have to worry about completing an objective. I just want a game that I'm just doing stuff in. I tend to go for more mindless stuff, like stuff where I'm playing a side-scroller where I'm just fighting, moving left or right.
Sure.
Like I'm not doing anything. Or playing Minecraft where I'm digging and stuff for hours on end. Or I play WWE 2K18 where I'm just literally turning my brain off and playing a wrestling game for hours on end. And that's kind of where I go with it.
Yeah.
I tend to try to go for stuff that doesn't have story modes. It just allows me to do whatever I want to do with it. And I can kind of shut my brain off and just put on some chill music and enjoy.
That makes sense.
Sometimes Tetris. Tetris is another good one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, for me, time killing is about the beginning of video games. So, like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Kerbal. Like, I'll play the beginning of those games that I've already played like a bajillion times before, just because it's very satisfying. I already know how to progress, but the progression still has a certain amount of satisfaction, right? So I can I used to do a thing where I'd play either Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and I would just see how far I could get before I had to level up. And then the moment I hit a wall where I knew that I was going to have to level up, I'd just be like, I'm done. So just see how many bosses can you beat in Bloodborne without putting a single level into your character.
The answer for me is none. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. I had some nights where I was sitting around drinking.
Father Gascoigne whoops my ass all the time.
Yeah, I realized the other day when just a couple of months ago, where I was really drunk and I was playing Bloodborne and I got to Father Gascoigne and I realized that I hadn't played him solo in a long time, that I've always been ringing the bell and just bringing somebody else in, which makes the fight just trivial, right? And so I had to fight him solo, and I was like, oh, fuck. And I didn't want to level up because I was trying to see how far I could get without leveling up. But I was just like, oh, goddamn, yeah, that's right. He's a pretty big beast if you've got to deal with him by yourself. But I don't know. I mean, like, a lot of times the thing, JD, is that I don't actually have as much of a go-to because I love games. So, like, right now it's Warframe, as I'm just logging into Warframe, doing a couple missions, logging out of Warframe, logging into Warframe, doing a few missions, getting out of Warframe. And it's different. Like, I've got Kingdom Come Deliverance. I've got Yakuza 0 that I've been needing to get back to, but like the difference with Warframe, or it was happening with Injustice 2 when I had that installed, or Overwatch.
I've been playing
just
Ninja Turtles and Injustice 2. That's been awesome.
Oh, are they? Are they out?
They're out.
Oh,
they're
shit!
Out this week.
Oh, shit! Okay. Was the ability to just pull something up and play a little bit of it and know that it's not like with Yakuza. I don't want to just randomly play Yakuza because the first time I hit a cutscene, it's one of the things that I'm having a problem with Kingdom Come Deliverance, is that I played that game for like 3 hours, John. I've been in like 4 fights, and it's mostly just been really, really long scenes of exposition.
Also, I've heard the save system sucks in that game.
Yeah, you have to get you have to get drunk. You have to have schnapps to save.
Yeah. You have to buy a schnapps, and if you within game currency, obviously, and if you don't have that, you have to wait for a cutscene to auto save so that you can quit the game.
And not even that sometimes, because that time when I was trying to I wanted to fucking break that game in half. I don't know. That game seems like I haven't gotten to the game yet. Like, I haven't gotten to a point where I can put on a single piece of armor in the game. Like, my character is still wearing the fucking dirty clothes that he has in the opening tutorial section, which lasted for like 2 hours. And then, like, after that, there was another 2 hours. 90 minutes of that was trying to do the same thing over and over again. I finally got away from that. Then there was like, go back to your town, and here's a long exposition. It's just exposition. And I want the world to open up, but it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. Like, it's worse in that way than just about any other game I've ever played, because it's just not letting me have the freedom to do anything. It's just funneling you into like, okay, well, first you got to do all these chores for your dad. Then this attack's going to happen. You have to just run away. Then you have to dialogue, and then
I've heard
dialogue,
that's pretty much the whole game.
Dialogue, and then okay. Well, I was hoping that there was.
I know, like, for example, before the game came out, there was a thing that a lot of people were talking about, how, like, there's a mission where you have to go find a quest where you have to go find, like, an assassin who's hiding in a monastery, but the monks won't let you into the monastery unless you become a monk. So you have to become a monk, but that means, like, a vow of silence, and then also you have to do all the monks' daily activities exactly correctly the same every day. And then you have to also try to figure out who the assassin is while on this. And apparently the mission takes place in game time, like 2 or 3 months in game time. Mm-hmm. Like 2 or 3 months of you just having each day to do these certain things in order, and then finding a way to sneak around in between those sections without being seen to try to find out who it is. Because if they find out you're not a monk, or if they find out they find you doing something that's not what you're supposed to be doing, you get kicked out and you lose the quest.
I'm not interested in playing this game anymore.
You have to start it over again or something.
I'm not interested I'm not interested in playing this game anymore. I mean, the game has already made me wait for like 4 hours, and I haven't really been able to do that much fighting, and so I'm just like, no. I mean, I'm not just not interested in that. Like, if it's like, oh, it's like Skyrim, but it's realistic, and it's like, okay, you know what? It's got the kind of the For Honor, like,
I that was the thing that made me curious. Everyone was like, it's Skyrim but realistic, and then the more I'm hearing about it, it's like they went too far in one direction.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, fortunately for other people, though, I know there are a great number of people in the gaming industry who want something like that, who would be interested in something like that. But anyway, I don't know. As far as non-gaming related stress relief activities, I drink, which I'm trying.
Jeff drinks. I read comics. I listen to music. Like when I'm like super stressed out and I'm just not in the mood for a video game, like I'll usually like go into my room, put on like Daft Punk's Discovery, or any number. Like there are certain like go-to albums that I have that I'll just listen to. Like the Megas are another one that I'll listen to, and just kind of zone out, and I'll just listen to that music and
relax.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll watch a movie. Sometimes some of my go-tos are High Fidelity, fucking the Ghostbusters movie, just movies that I really enjoy. Sometimes I'll just go through old horror movies, John Carpenter movies. Strange that to relax I watch horror movies sometimes, but like that's kind of where I go. Or I'll watch a TV series. I'll watch an anime or something. I'll just watch something that I've watched that I know that I enjoy, and I'll just kind of go through the whole. I'll rewatch the entirety of The Pretender, the TV series. The other day I was actually thinking about, because they're doing the Stargate Origins thing on online, which is an online TV series. It's like 10-minute episodes.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 13 10-minute episodes. They've only released 3 of them so far. But like I actually thought about, what if I just watched all of Stargate SG-1 from beginning to end? I'm not doing that, but that was a question I had for a moment, because I loved fucking Stargate for a really long period of my life. So
I was going to go back and watch Stargate Atlantis one time, and I forgot that fucking Jason Momoa doesn't show up until like season 4, and I was
season 2.
Season 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, we got a couple more here. Henry writes in and says, Jeff and John, I have Been replaying Fallout 4 recently and about 2/3 of the way through the game's main quest. Lately, however, I found myself Googling each new location I go to make sure I don't miss any good loot or quests it may contain. So my question is this. In a time when the solution to any video game problem or puzzle is but a mouse click away, what kind of future do games have, or do games that make their gameplay entirely out of puzzles have, i.e. Portal, Limbo, Myst, Talos Principle, etc.? Long live the dong, Henry. And says P.S. Fallout 4 VR made me vomit when a friend let me try it. 0 out of 5 stars. Damn, Henry.
So I don't think there's really any they do have longevity because I mean there's been guides out in the world of the internet. The internet has had those guides since we figured out we could put guides on the internet, and that hasn't really hurt the sales of those types of games because I mean the people who want to play the game and want to be challenged won't go look at that stuff.
Yeah, I mean
it's the people who do want like a quick oh I need help with this, they will go look at it.
Right.
But that doesn't that's not going to affect the longevity of those type of games.
I mean, I think it's the same. I think that what you're asking, Henry, is the same with every game, right? Yeah. That if you just want somebody to give you a series of steps on how to play and beat the game, just about every game has you covered. GameFAQs.com, right? But I think that most people realize
GameFAQs.com, Prima Strategy Guides, it's
YouTube channels,
Nintendo Power used to do that with their games way back in the NES days.
Absolutely. But that I feel like most people understand that you're robbing yourself of the experience if all you do is just follow the directions that are on the paper, that you get a better sense of accomplishment by figuring stuff out on your own. Me personally, I feel that there's a point, though, where the frustration of figuring something out on my own gets too high, and I realize that I should go look up a guide to find out where to go next, or I'm going to quit playing this game. So, like, if my frustration level gets too high, then I'll go to a guide to get past that one thing. And a lot of times in video games, I mean, not to, toot my own horn or anything, but like a lot of times I feel like when I get stuck and go online, all I have to do is type I don't know, just Warframe, mission 2, and then it autofills like, how do I get to the elevator? Because there are common sticking places in video games these days. But generally, I don't think that those types of games are going to be. Plus, a lot of them, like Limbo, or maybe Limbo, but like when you talk about. Like I was thinking about The Witness, right? Yeah. The Witness is all puzzles. So, but the puzzles aren't like they're puzzles where you could describe with text, but you start to get to an area with some of these games where they're so abstract that it's hard to exactly describe, like with Portal, exactly where the portals go. So then what are you going to do? You're going to watch a video and just do on your screen what's happening in the video. I can't see anybody doing that for a full game. I mean, I guess some people might, but...
it's something that just popped in my head.
What's that?
PT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when we did it. Like we played that game, each of us, like on the live stream on the dojos or whatever.
Right.
We played that, and played it ourselves. And then we had to look up because people were like, "No, there's more to it." And then we had to look up guides, and we were playing while we were doing this live stream where we were literally playing it and reading a guide telling us what steps to do, just so we could see the reactions. Like sometimes guides are okay.
Yeah.
Like it's like, and that's one thing I really want to straight because you brought up the fact that there are some people who are like, oh, well, if you look up a guide, you're losing the enjoyment of discovering yourself. And I want to say that if you are someone who just wants to experience it and you want to be guided, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, don't let someone tell you not to do that. But for those people that there are going to be people that don't want that, and they're not going to look at those. And there are going to be people who do want that, and they are going to look at those guides. So, that's why I kind of go back to the point of, it's the industry's not, those type of games aren't going to go anywhere. The longevity of those types of games are still going to be there, because there are always going to be people who go, I don't want to look at those guides, and play through the entire game. And then they don't play for it for a long time and go, oh man, I remember that one game. I want to play it. Sometimes the second time through, they may go, you know what? I want to look at a guide. I want to see what I missed. Sometimes they don't, so I don't really think it's going to affect the longevity.
I don't either. And one final question. I don't know. This one's a little bit just for Jeff, but, this one's from Jeremy, and Jeremy just says, dearest Jeff and, John, Do you ever miss the loading bar? What are some of the pros and cons of having your own business and all the responsibilities that are entailed compared to those of just being an employee? Thanks a bunch.
I can say that me personally,
Yeah.
I was never on. I was like one episode of the loading bar. I have no opinion of the loading bar. I was off doing my own podcast at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I can honestly say that it's I haven't talked about it a lot, but it's incredibly nerve-wracking to run this business. Like I don't get. It's very difficult for me because right now my life is a triforce, John, of this job, which is my personal business, another job that I'm doing for a bunch of friends that I don't want to let down in any way, and then my relationship with the person that I'm dating and my friends right now. And it's like when things get stressful, I can't take away from any of those things. Like I can't.
You don't want to.
I don't want to, right? I don't want to let, like, say, you know, I don't know if it's YouTube's algorithms or if you guys are all just sick of the sound of my voice, but like there's been a big dip in YouTube hits, and I don't know if that's just like a culmination of over time. I mean, it's weird. I feel like some of the like more higher profile games tend to get more hits, but then something like Final Fantasy Dissidia NT, which I thought was a pretty maybe I overestimated what kind of a release that was, barely broke 1,000 hits in part one. Just the hits on YouTube weigh on me. And there's been times where I've wondered, like, well, you know, Rage Select has been going on for almost 5 years, and maybe it's time to move and do something else full time. But like, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I love Rage Select. It's my business, my life. Like it's been my entire life for 5 years now, and I love it. On the other hand, it's like I've been doing this other work on the side for some friends of mine, and or that's not the best way to put it. It's actually another YouTube channel that I've been doing stuff for, but I know all of them. They're all very nice people, and they're all under a lot of stress in their lives, and so it's like to decrease the amount of work that I do would then put other people under stress. And then on the third part, you've got, you know, your friends and loved ones and family and things like that. And there have been a couple of things that are going on in my life there too, where it's like it's very difficult to juggle all three of those. And so I do a lot of times miss the days when, you know, how do you get paid and what are we doing and should we be pushing this, or who's going to be on the podcast this week, or who's going to do this, or what's the schedule going to look like? Most of that was handled by somebody else.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, in the beginning especially, never forget, Jeremy, that, you know, this is I'm not going to make any value judgment at all here, but from a logistical point of view, the loading bar, the video section of the loading bar was me and Jason. Like, there was no schedule about, hey, Grant, when are you free this week? Or, you know, hey, what time should we do this? Or can you squeeze me in over here? Is this a good game, a good fit? It was easy. It was every Tuesday I would go buy games and go to Jason's house and we record all the videos. We'd record 7 videos for the entire week, and then, boom, we were done. There was a hellish nightmare schedule that, you know, one of the reasons Jason is so slavish, I feel like, about being 30-minute only videos is because it used to be that I wanted to record 7 goddamn videos with him every week in one day. And then outside of that, you know, the podcast was, I guess I started doing the live show or the call-in show on off weeks with Kevin. But there was also a lot more of us, right?
Yeah.
Back in those days. That was a little bit more focused, right? So, like, I'll ask Nick if he wants to be on the podcast, but Nick's got his own shit that he's doing. He's a busy guy.
Yeah.
I ask Kevin from time to time. Kevin's always welcome on the podcast, you know. But Kevin's busy. Kevin's got a life. He's got his own thing. It was a lot easier when people were getting written paychecks, but I'm going to go a step further. There are days when I not only miss the loading bar, I miss my boring 9-to-5 office job, because there are advantages to leaving your house and going to a location and doing a thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it says, here's the thing, you do the thing. And you're like, yes, sir, do the thing. You do the thing for 9 hours with an hour off for lunch.
Oh, yeah.
And you go home, and then it's all gone. Whereas I live at my job.
Yeah, no, trust me. One of the things that I've always wanted, like, even when I wasn't part of Rage Select, like when I was just more your friend that would help out every now and then, that wasn't actually like a regular reoccurring person on the site.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I had always hoped for you is that the site would do well enough that you could rent out an office somewhere, set up an office room, set up a recording room for video, set up a room that has, a room where you edit, and you would have enough people, that you could make money to pay people to come in and actually work, and where you would come in from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you're doing Rage Select, and then you go home and you don't think about Rage Select for the rest of the day. Which, mind you, you probably would think about Rage Select for the rest of the day, but there would be a disconnect.
It's a difference between the fact that the room where we were recording right now is also the room where I play games for fun. It's the room where I post stuff on the internet. I spend a lot of time in this room, the room where my computer, my PlayStation, my microphones are.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you imagine the room at home where you play video games was also the place that you went to do your job. It could be nerve-wracking. I mean, there's one of the things that I feel like is that I've learned over the years, and I've mentioned this once or twice before, is that there is an idea in the American psyche. There is an idea that says, oh, well, the end goal for a successful person is to own their own business, and then you're going to make a lot of money and blah 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 blah. But as somebody who has owned their own business, it's very stressful.
Yeah.
And I don't think that stress is for me. Like I in a real weird situation where I was just talking about before how I like the comment sections now because fewer people are watching Rage Select, so there's less drive-by assholery happening in my comment section. We had trolls that were on Rage Select for 2-3 years who finally, it took Jason, kind of backing away from the website, and they finally just got tired of...
Because Jason wasn't there, yeah.
Right.
Also, I think it was also for the fact that I placated them. I think Grant also did as well.
Yeah.
Like, we just went along with it. Like, we were just like, oh, you're cute.
Yeah.
Like, and it was very clear he wasn't... They weren't getting to us. And they just got annoyed and left.
Yeah. I mean, there was more than one
But
person.
also, there was more than one. But I do know that there were a couple specific ones that were specifically here on the site for Jason, and anyone that wasn't Jason, they would go out of their way to complain, poke at, argue with, and if we would interact with them in any way, they would get really annoyed when we wouldn't interact with them the way that they wanted us to, which is they wanted us to be mad at them.
Yep.
So that they had a reason to be mad at us.
Yep.
But we're just so darn likable.
I don't know. I can't actually ascribe to that particular statement. But you know what?
I'm just so damn likable, Jeff.
There you go.
So's Grant.
You and Grant are just so likable. But yeah, it's I do miss it from time to time. It was also I don't know if this happens to everybody, but not just the loading bar, but Spill was a very close group. So there was a lot more, Jason posts on Twitter, hey, I'm going to the bar. And then suddenly half of the movie review crew, most of the staff, and the loading bar that's in town, are all with significant others and people that we know all show up. And then, there were fucking weekends there where it's like every other weekend it was just like 15 of us at the poorhouse, like hanging out until they close. And I miss that a lot. But the part of when Spill went away was there was a fracturing of people all spreading out and doing their own things, and necessarily that just takes people away from each other. I mean,
and it's not a situation of that you can't say, oh, I'm going to this place and they won't come because they're not part of Rage Select. It's just they're busy doing their own shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Like back then, you knew what everyone's hours were because everyone had the same fucking hours.
Right. Yeah.
Now everyone has their own shit. Some people are working 2 jobs. Some people are working more than 2 jobs. Some people have just the 1 job, but they're just so busy with it that you don't know what. Like they sleep all day and work all night, and you don't know that.
Yep.
Just kind of think it is. It's the way it is.
Yep. So yes, the answer is yes. Sometimes I miss it. It's nice to have control over my own destiny. Sometimes. It's strange, and just the whole thing is a little strange. Anyway, that is the end of it. And so mail@rageselect.com is the email address. If you would like to write in and ask us about anything, feel free to do so. And with that, John, I think if you want to tell me about the other 600 Buc-ee's locations in Texas, exactly where they are, and your individual review. Do you have a website yet?
I only know of like 3. Well, I'm sure Buc-ee's has a website.
No, I mean, I want the John Reviews Buc-ee's website.
I've only been to 2 Buc-ee's.
Buc-eeSelect.com. Well, we got to fix that, man.